Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's preview live stream. We know this one's been a little bit of a long time in coming. Matt, welcome. How are you feeling?
I'm excited. I'm a bit nervous. I'm going to get judged harshly numerous times on this, I can tell. But I'm pensively excited.
Well, Matt's specifically asked tonight not to have the chat in his eye line so that he can focus on his driving. So he's got the added pressure tonight of I guess driving well, but also trying to make sure that he is on top of everything that's coming on in the chat. But we are tonight going to be, of course, talking to you about all of the amazing US content which is coming to Train Sim World 3 tomorrow, which is incredibly exciting. I know obviously we were meant to be doing this live stream last Thursday. Unfortunately, Matt wasn't very well, so we thought, you know what? We'll give him a little bit of a break and we won't make him come in on death's door and instead we'll move it to tonight. So hopefully you'll all get an opportunity to see all of the content that's coming, including the Acela, including the Northeast Corridor, New York to Trenton route, and also the Union Pacific Heritage Collection, all of which are coming tomorrow. Now, we're going to structure this live stream a little bit differently to how we would normally do a preview live stream because we've got quite a lot of stuff to get through. So we're going to be taking, first of all, Boston on a bit of a spin in the Acela. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the game. And then we're going to be doing Trenton. We're hoping to maybe get about 45 minutes to an hour of Trenton. And then we're going to finish just by showing the Union Pacific Heritage Collection at the end of the stream. And there'll be lots of thrills and spills as we go through as well.
He's already judging my driving, see?
I am already judging your driving. And somebody else who will be judging Matt's driving tonight is our special guest that we have, who is currently a disembodied voice in the chat, but actually will be coming on to talk a little bit more about some of the work that they've been putting into the routes in question. And we are delighted tonight to be joined by Brandon, aka cAcTuSjUiCe, who has been implementing a lot of the signalling improvements that have come to Boston Sprinter today, as well as also consulting on some of the signalling improvements going into the Trenton route as well. So Brandon, wonderful to have you with us tonight. Can you say hello for us?
Yeah, of course, JD. Hey, guys.
And it's great. I mean, it's slightly weird to have you as our disembodied voice in the background. Don't worry, we will be killing the face cams when we get into the gameplay anyway, so you're not going to matter that much. But it's great to have you with us. Are you excited for tomorrow?
Super excited. This is a huge week for North American rail fans. Huge.
Oh, that's a good way to kick things off, shall we? So I know we normally tend to do a lot of admin, and marketing spiel in me says some of these packages are available live, including the passenger bundle, the freight bundle, and the super duper awesome special bundle, which is what I'm still going to call it. But it is, I think, the platinum bundle, as we call it on Steam. They're available to get now. All of the routes will be available individually, or the pieces of content will be available individually as well tomorrow, as well as a New York starter pack, I believe, as well, which will be Trenton and the core game if it's your first time joining Train Sim World 3. But sure, without further ado, we get into a bit of gameplay, Matt?
I think it's what people want. I mean, or we could carry on with the admin and make them wait. What do you want? What do you want, viewers? Should we have more admin? No?
I think, you know what, we'll be lynched if we don't get in there nice. All right, let's get started, shall we? Let's move into some gameplay. So, Matt, talk us through what we're doing first up.
Right, so first of all, well, let me just quickly, scenarios for the Acela. You've got the I just cleaned there. You've got the high-speed US. Give me 5. No, that's not it. Where's the other one? No, that was 3. It's 3. It's 3.
There were 3 of them, yeah.
There were 3 of them, that's it. So those are the scenarios. Service-wise, if we pop into the Acela, so the timetable's had a little bit of an overhaul. It's fixed some of the problems. I believe, for example, the infamous one where it looks like it's expecting you to drive through a depot. I think that's been fixed. There's been some other stuff reworked. Fundamentally, it is the same timetable, but with the Acela services added. And moved in around those stuff. So it's based on the real Acela services. So, yeah, quite a lot to choose from in terms of what you're doing, covering in both directions of the route. Which one were we doing? 2164?
Yeah, 2164, and I picked a perfect time of day for it.
October the 5th.
That's right.
I'm going to put it on custom weather so it doesn't change. because people want to see what we're doing, and the fog and the rain is just not that much fun. Right, so yeah, that's the selection of services that you can do with it. Obviously, the usual scenario planner stuff as well. Let's get going. So this is going to start us in Providence. Is that right, Brandon?
Yes, Providence.
Providence to Boston. 585 tons. Right, welcome to the Acela cab. Right,
here we go.
Let's get the cab active first and put that in forward. And I'm going to get the doors open with the Y key. And I'm going to get safety systems cut in. Right, while the passengers are loading, we have a couple of minutes. There's a bit of gap at the beginning. Let's take a gander at the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to see, and this train was beautifully modeled.
What we could do even is go and have a wander around the coaches.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. So let's you can go a little way down this. That's as far as you can go down here, just so that you know, because you need to access the door. So let's have a wander, and let's check out look at these coaches. They're gorgeous. I love the Acela. It's just such a pretty looking train. Oh, sir, I'll be driving.
These train sets are 20 years old, or 22 years old at this point.
Yeah, just on the cusp of being replaced.
The test of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they are fantastic. I mean, these are the fastest trains in the States, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They've done testing in these, I believe, up to 170 miles per hour.
Which is pretty incredible. You can see doors opening as I wander
day-to-day
down.
is just 150.
Just 150, yes.
Just that old chestnut, 150 miles an hour, blasting through New England.
Oh, the cafe car's
Slow by
down here, isn't
European
it?
standards.
What? Cafe is closed because the toilets don't work. Yeah, that's the story we're going with.
We've spoken to some of the caterers, and you can understand why.
Right, let's wind our way to the cab for an almost on-time departure. Oops, late departure.
Now, we'll depart on time. You got 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So what you folks will notice straight away, before we even get into the driving side of things, is the lighting and the skies have had a little bit of an overhaul, haven't they, Matt?
They have indeed. So this is all upgraded to what we call the TOD4. Put the cab speed, cruise control up. Yeah, so we're on the TOD4. We've got the new skies, the new lighting, and it makes us such a difference. Such a difference.
It really does. And just to add a little bit of fun tonight, I'm going to act as Matt's conductor. So, Matt, whenever you're ready, lock the doors.
I have locked the doors.
Oh, I'm here for this tonight.
Amtrak 2164. Okay to proceed on signal indication. Over.
Proceeding. Right.
So just on that note, Brandon, actually, it might be a good idea if there are players who perhaps aren't aware of kind of what your part to play in Boston has been, and also kind of your history with the railways. It'd be really good to get a little introduction to you and kind of how you've come to be part of this project.
Yeah, so I joined the beta team in 2018 after the first Northeast Corridor route was released. I had a lot of criticism about the signaling at the time, and that constructive feedback prompted Matt to actually request that I join the beta team. So ever since then, I've been testing mostly North American content and have gotten various development gigs, both for this game and for Train Sim Classic. So I didn't really like the state that the Boston signaling was in. So I took it upon myself, since I have editor access now, to try to reverse engineer the blueprints and start working on some fixes. And it took about a year. But yeah, here we are.
And we were chatting just before we went live, and actually you can see from your bedroom some of the locos that we're going to be showing tonight as well.
Oh yeah, I live about 75 feet, well my front door is about 75 feet from the Northeast Corridor here in Rhode Island. They go through here at 150 miles an hour on a daily basis. Shakes the house.
That's amazing. But yeah, it's great to have you on the stream, Brandon. It's really good to. What we'll probably do as we go through is when you see something that is perhaps pertinent or interesting to note from the signaling perspective, just shout it out and give us a little bit of more information, a little bit of context, and myself and Matt will let you take it away.
Sounds good. Yeah, this is going to be a really, really good stream. I'm excited to be here.
So we're getting access is getting us bumped up here, just up to 70. We get a little bit of a up and down on the speeds on this until we get up to the 150, but it's not long until we get the magical clear 150, which is actually when you're driving, and even in the ACS 64, even when you're running that train, you'll get the clear 150 indication coming up in the cab. The access will limit you to 125 because that's what the ACS 64 can do. But that's a good indicator that you're running the new version that Brandon's updated signaling on there, because it only ever used to say clear 125 before.
Matt,
yeah,
a couple of requests in the chat for you to close your cab door if you haven't already.
Does he have the door to the power car?
There we go.
Open? Oh, yeah. It's actually like that in real life, where it does dampen the noise that much. I was surprised when I got a ride last year how much it actually helps.
Oh, so you've been on a ride. Have you been in the have you seen it all, Brandon?
Yeah, I got a ride in November from Providence to Boston. That's actually where I got the safety system sounds that you guys put into both this and the ACS 64, and I think you even used some of it in the NJT equipment.
Awesome. We're also getting some requests for interior horn, Matt, as well. There we go.
There you go, interior horn. There will be much more horn throughout this stream.
Of course there will.
Yeah, so this area is really, really cool. Off to the right there is Interstate 95, one of the main highways on the East Coast here. And whenever I drive through on that road, it's always cool seeing the railroad signals and the Northeast Corridor and everything. So this area is pretty cool. And they just opened a brand new commuter rail station right on this straightaway on January 23rd, the Pawtucket Central Falls commuter rail station. So I have to make my way out there at some point to Railfan.
Definitely. Right, okay, so back up to, no, going back down to 60 again. So access, you can see here, access is getting all sorts of upset now. Thank you.
And this is Matt when he's concentrating.
Yeah, so one thing that was changed recently in real life on the Acelas and now on the ACS 64 is the counting down of the maximum authorized speed. So how it used to work is the speed would only change once you actually reached the new restriction. Now it's actually counting down the braking curve that the engineer has to abide by.
Yeah. Which actually is a bit more intuitive as being from a player/engineer experience. It is showing you the curve rather than just telling you when you get it wrong, which is what it used to do. So it was a really fortunate change. And actually, if I remember rightly, it's how the original ACS 64 in TS Classic used to do it by accident. Because
it did, yeah.
So that's now reality. So you're welcome, Amtrak. That was. You can take your improvements from TS Classic.
You'll still have the old behavior on the ACS 64. We hadn't changed anything with that in the game. So you'd be able to do both experiences. The new behavior on the Acela, the old behavior on the ACS 64. Clear 150, baby.
Clear 150.
Oh, yes. Here's the money shot.
This stretch up to milepost 194 is only 125 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's after the next curve where you have pretty much a 10-mile straightaway of 150 mile per hour territory.
Which is good because it's basically a long straight piece of track. So.
Yeah, it is. I don't think there's any curvature in it whatsoever.
It'd be good to be able to show the tilt a little bit when we get to a corner or something like that. On the external.
Yeah, there's a curve in 2 miles. That'll be a good showcase for that.
Cool.
Matt, I do want to show them the dynamic braking feature on the train. If you want to demonstrate that for this upcoming curve,
Yep.
I'll show you how to operate it.
Before it.
So basically, you're not going to touch the automatic brake handle at all. You can keep the throttle at max effort. All you're going to do is change the cruise control to 110 at a certain point, and I'll tell you when to do it.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how most of the Acela engineers actually operate the train on a daily basis. They won't even touch the automatic brake unless to comply with a cab signal downgrade, an access penalty, or coming in for a station stop. They'll just use the dynamics for most everything. So right as you hit this bridge, set the cruise control to 110.
Okay, got bridge coming up.
No.
You're
It's too
watching
late.
it on a lag, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on a bit of a lag because of the stream. It's fine. This is a good demonstration, though, of Access doing a penalty application. So it's ensuring that he'll meet the requirements of this 110 mile per hour curve. And he has to just put the brakes into suppression, acknowledge, and then once the train is at or below the target speed, he's able to regain control of the train.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to keep that stream delay in mind.
Yeah. A couple of people have been asking about the cab signalling. It's a good start to the live stream, isn't it? What we are going to do for those people who are a little bit... obviously, we're not going to be able to go into the minutiae during this live stream, but Brandon has put together a really, really good guide for signalling on the Boston Sprinter route. What we'll do is when we launch the content tomorrow, it will be part of our launch article, so you can take a look and watch it for yourself. Big thanks to Brandon for putting that together, because it is a really, really comprehensive guide for anybody who perhaps is not the most au fait with how the signalling works on the route, or how it will work, or how it works as of today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Well worth the watch.
Yeah, it took a while to make, but I wanted to make it comprehensive and include those demonstrations and things. I think it's a good resource.
Absolutely. We're going to be shouting it from the rooftops. So just on the Acela, just while we're on a little bit of a straight stretch of track, obviously it runs primarily on Boston, but if you do have the Acela, you will also be able to utilise it on the Northeast Corridor, New York to Trenton route as well. It has 45 services on Trenton as well as being able to use it for scenario planner, livery designer, all of those things that you know and love as well. This is the first kind of standalone route loco piece of content for Train Sim World 3, and therefore it's not coupled to a route per se, but it has gameplay on Boston and Trenton.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Matt, coming up is a dead section. So what you're going to do
You're late.
is you're
I've
going
already
to set the
passed it.
throttle to... You're past the dead section?
Yeah, I've already passed it.
geez.
I've just opened the MCB.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine.
And there
there's a
goes
second
the,
dead section.
The white on black sign is the end of the dead section, isn't it?
Darn stream delay.
Okay.
So
open
the
that.
black DS signs show the actual start of the dead section.
Okay. Just to be clear, neutral
The yellow
sections
is a
aren't
warning.
implemented. But you can
No,
you
it's just
can
a
print, you
realism
can
thing.
you can role play it by closing the MCB, opening the MCB.
Yeah, and when you open the MCB, what the physics guy was able to do is, because when you open the main circuit breaker, a dynamic brake kicks in, and that's been simulated properly as well.
$16 miles now to Route 128. Why don't we do a quick demo of that bright dynamic braking thing here while we're out on the open? So what do I need to do? Just drop the
We
target
could wait
speed?
until the next dead section by Canton Junction, because that's where they actually use the dynamic braking to their advantage. They're going downhill, they'll keep the MCB open a bit longer than they normally would, just to.
Oh no,
bring the
sorry, I
train
meant that
speed.
deceleration with the dynamic brake that we missed at the previous bridge.
Oh, that. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the MCB. Yeah, we can use it for the 130-mile-an-hour curve coming up after Mansfield.
There it is, 2.4 miles away. It's just popped up.
Yeah. What I would do, if you're just going to use the dynamics for that one, set the cruise to 130 just as you hit the Mansfield platform.
If we can get an exterior shot of the tilting as well, Matt, that would be.
That's what I'm hoping to
great.
get to. Too many things to show at once. Right, this looks like Mansfield, dropping the
It is.
cruise control down. So it's now engaged the dynamic brakes and is now slowing the train down.
Yep. So the throttle actually controls the amount of dynamic braking force that gets applied. The higher you have the throttle set, the more intense the dynamic braking is. If you have it backed off more, so let's keep it at the highest, Matt, so you can make the requirements for the curve.
Yeah, we're done.
But yeah, if you want to adjust the dynamic braking force, you can just move the throttle.
Yep. Yeah, no, I saw that. That worked.
There you go.
Very cool.
Yeah, you made the speed restriction just fine.
Oh, we didn't show the curve.
It's okay.
Right. You can also, if I remember rightly, can you not activate the dynamic braking behavior as well by just putting a minimum set on the air as well?
Yes, so that would activate the blended braking. So
Yes.
you're using air and dynamics.
Yeah, so you minimize your throttle, put a little set on your minimum, and if you've got any amount of air brake on, then the throttle will then add dynamic brake to it.
Yeah. So Access is gonna yell at you in a sec.
It did.
It's all good.
It's all fine.
It's only a 5-mile-an-hour drop. Yeah. So you're coming up to Sharon Station pretty soon. Highest point on the Northeast Corridor. Weird fact. Is in elevation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for the weird facts, Brandon. Throw them out. Any way you get the opportunity. A couple of people have been asking about the release date and the release times for tomorrow. So console, we generally tend to do tomorrow morning, or everything will be tomorrow, but we tend to do morning, whereas Steam and Epic will tend to be later in the afternoon UK time. So I know we've got a lot of US viewers tonight. Hopefully by the time most of you are either out of work tomorrow or getting up, consoles will be live, and hopefully for the majority of you by lunchtime US time, everything should be out and ready for you to go.
7.5 to Route
You pop back in
128.
the cab?
Mm-hmm. I'm in the cab.
Cool. Because this area is notorious for having issues with signals. Not like issues, but it's notorious for downgrades because of the merging with the Stoughton branch. And maybe
That's a green light.
that'll happen to us.
Got the drop.
Yeah, there's the
Pressure
tilting.
brake.
Yeah, you did. So the cab's just dropped to clear 125. So whenever there's a downgrade, acknowledge it, throw the brakes into suppression until at or below the required speed, then release.
Okay, got another
So if
drop.
you get a drop to clear 125 there, if you're experienced enough, you know exactly what's going on up ahead. So we'll see.
Flashing cab speed 80. We are slowing down.
Cab speed 80.
It's dropped us down to
And then we're
45.
coming up
Approach
on,
medium.
Yeah, advanced approach signal, the flashing yellow. So there's a dead section coming up. You'll see the
Mm-hmm.
yellow DS warning signs, and then the black is the
So
actual
the
start
black
of
one
the
is
dead
where I
section.
want to actually start the drop the MCB then.
The main circuit breaker. Yeah, exactly. So throttle to idle, and then open the main circuit breaker. So it's difficult here because you got to comply with signal speed restrictions. So you got to stay under 45. You have to have the main circuit breaker open through the dead section, so you're braking with the dynamics there. So the only other thing you have to control your speed is the automatic brake at that point, if you're going too fast, that is. You can't touch the throttle at all because you're not going to pull any current.
Yeah, you can see the dynamic brake has kicked in. Of course, we're going downhill, so actually. And then...
Yeah, so the dynamics should be enough to
more
keep
than
you
enough. More than
where you
enough.
need to be. Yeah.
Okay, back under the 30. We are on approach 30.
Yeah, so that's the distance signal for junction interlocking, which is right at Canton Junction Station. If you have an approach there, you know that there's a stop ahead.
Have I passed the end of the
prepared for
dead
that.
section by now? I must have done, surely.
You are fully past the dead section, so you can close the circuit breaker.
Clearly, this thing where I pay attention to what I'm doing is not going.
It's going well for you, Matt.
Hey, you shush.
So a fact about the main circuit breaker's dynamic braking, it'll deactivate at 23 miles per hour. So once the train speed is at 23, the dynamic braking part turns off. The reason for that is so you don't get stopped in the middle of a dead section.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's bad when that happens.
Yep, then they need to send a Thunderbird out.
In this case, they could probably just release the brakes and slide back down the hill.
Yeah, if you're on a
be
hill, yeah,
honest.
this is true, yeah.
Yeah,
Just gonna get.
they've
some
had to
pla-
do that before.
Go.
Just gonna go through some player questions. Red Rev asks, are there any journey chapters for the Acela? I think there's one on Boston, I
Yes.
believe.
We can actually make a note. We'll show the journey before we finish the Acela.
Yes, there's the training module, which is, I believe, in Training Centre now, rather than being attached to a route.
Correct.
You have journey. You have 3 scenarios, and there are 45 services for Trenton, and there are I can't remember the exact number for Boston, but we might be able to find that through the UI in game.
Services in Boston?
Yes, that would be if you've got that
I think
to
it's
hand. Brandon.
186, or it might be closer to 200 now at the Acela.
That's the total, yeah.
We're talking about with Boston. Is that so? There's about 20 odd Boston services.
Oh, yeah, for the Acela, sure.
Yeah, cool.
Right, Signal's just promoted me to 125.
Yeah, so what happened is a Stoughton-bound train was switching at junction interlocking into the station. So the switches were aligned against you, hence your stop signal.
Yeah.
Once he cleared, the dispatcher realigned the switches. Boom, everything
there, look.
upgrades back to clear. So you got clear 150.
Go. Sitting in the platform over there.
Yeah.
And Brandon, how was?
That's part
was
of the
it-
reason
was
I
it-
chose the service. What's up, JD?
Was it? Because I know this is a bit of a running joke. Stoughton.
Stoughton.
Yeah.
Stuffton.
You like that, don't you?
Stoughton.
Stuffton.
That's a new
Fun.
one.
We have a place in the UK
no,
called
it's
Loughton. And
Stoughton.
it's spelled exactly the same.
Fun fact: there are 8 different ways you can pronounce the OUGH.
But yeah, the locals
Thing in-
pronounce it Stoughton.
Yeah, I remember that whole thing when it first came up. It was so funny. Matt was so confused.
I'm always in a state of confusion. This doesn't change.
That's what happens when you don't sleep.
Right, where are we? 2 miles now
Got a
from
request
Stoughton.
for the low horn if you don't mind doing that. I think you press the N key on the keyboard for that. The low horn. Yeah, so there are differences. We got different recordings for that. And this curve is really, really good for showing the tilt. There's 6 inches of super elevation on this particular curve. which is the highest allowed in the United States.
So the key thing that's a bit unusual with this compared to those, certainly the UK audience, European audience might be aware of, is that the tilt only happens on the coaches, not on the power cars.
Correct. Yeah, so the ride quality in the power car is a little bit lessened, but even still, it's not uncomfortable, in my opinion. It's just to improve the ride quality of the passengers.
I imagine putting the suspension on putting the tilt mechanism on the heavy Acela power car is probably expensive as well, and maintenance problems abound.
Sure. Your braking is pretty good. If you hit the platform at 45, you're pretty much golden. If you're already braking, that is, and you nailed that.
Good, because I was mildly panicking, got to be honest.
I'm impressed. Matt.
No, you're good. So the stopping point is the E sign toward the end of the platform. That's specifically for Acela Expresses. That's their predetermined stopping point.
It's almost like the E stands for express or something daft.
Yeah, right? Weird coincidence, huh?
It's just crazy.
Or in Matt's case, emergency.
Or in Matt's case, emergency. It just never stops.
Not a bad stop at all. Nice job.
I've done
So we're going
worse.
to have a bit of downtime here. If you want to show off some other features of the train, I think some people want to take a look at the coupler. They want to see if the nose cone works on the front.
Okay, remind me how I do that.
All right, so if you get into the exterior, or you can just hop out. It's up to you. There's a
go
little
outside.
handle on the side that allows you to open the nose cone. The guys were actually able to animate that and everything, and it quite cool
Where?
to see.
Where is it?
So there's a little handle. Yeah. There you go. So then you're able to couple. So like if there was a scenario where the train broke down and needed to be rescued, you'd lift up the shroud and then you'd couple to it like any normal train.
Oh, and the safety systems enabling is round here. There's 3 switches down here for doing your safety systems, or the usual keyboard controls for those of you blessed with a keyboard. There's some extra stuff down here, but you generally won't be needing it, although I think a lot of that's also wired up as well. You do have the tilt disable here, so you can switch off the tilt, because tilt is not actually permitted in all parts of the Northeast Corridor. It is, I think, in all the places covered in the route, but yeah, you can turn it off if you want to turn it off. And if you want extra noise in the cab, there's AC buttons and things which will not actually cool you down, just want to say.
Yeah, just for show. The wipers are really, really cool. So in the different rainy conditions you'll experience with the dynamic weather system, sometimes you'll just want to have the wipers come on maybe like every 5 seconds or so. So you can actually fine-tune the intermittent wiper setting down to the second. So you can have it go every 10 seconds, every 5 seconds. So there's a little dial to the left that allows you to do that. I've gotten a lot of great use out of it.
Oh, the intermittent wiper delay.
Ah, that's cool. And do each of those individual numbers mean is that a second, or is that
Correct.
Yeah.
Between wipes. Yeah.
cool? Matt, remember to close the cab door before we get going, if you haven't already.
I totally remembered that.
I could just sense the chat getting antsy that you hadn't.
It is noisy in there. Like when you're in there and it's running, it is noisy.
Well, I mean, it reminds me a lot of I was in the cab of a Eurostar and it wasn't going anywhere and it still made a major racket.
Yeah, those blowers in there are no joke.
Can we get a drive-by shot, Matt, of us leaving the station?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they really gun it out of the station. Like, pretty soon after leaving, they will put it into full throttle.
Matt, I believe that's
They
your
fly out of it.
permission to go full throttle very quickly.
Yes.
Well, I don't mean like straight to 10, but
It's the way
not
I
too
drive, I do.
far off. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, if you don't get wheel slip, may as well just do it. Yeah, we'll see how fast we can be going when we hit transfer.
So Boston Back Bay is the next station, 10 miles, and we've got 120 coming up.
Yeah, so at transfer interlocking is the end of the 150-mile-an-hour territory. So you'll get an implied cab signal drop to clear 125 from that point onward. Skies are beautiful.
It looks
Part of the reason
so
why I
much
chose
nicer, isn't
time
it?
of day.
Yeah, it's a really nice time
Yeah.
of day. Yeah. I like the dawn and the dusk with the sort of the pinkish and reddish skies.
Yeah, sometimes it seems a bit much, but I don't know. I'm kind of drawn to it.
It is nice.
Someone's
Gives you
asked
drop to clear
about.
125. Yeah.
Someone's
guess
just
that
asked
was
about the
transfer.
length of the route. It's 43 miles or 70 kilometers. This stretch.
We have a moment. I will
Yeah.
remind you of the track plan. This is Boston South Station up here. And then this, hello. This is Providence down here.
See.
And it also has then the Stoughton branch for the diesel trains.
Hey, you said it right.
I'm trying.
You should try and get different pronunciation every time we say it.
Stoughton
It's
branch.
just funny.
Because we said as well, one of the improvements to this route as well is some of the night or the building lighting at Boston. So what we're going to do when we get to Boston is just do a quick flyover of what the lights now look like in dark conditions. That is an update that went live today, as well as all of the skies and the signalling and the lighting that you're seeing on the route now. This was all went live slightly earlier today.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to hit today. I was pleasantly surprised when I woke up and I saw 11 a.m. UTC. They're going to do this? Great.
Well, you need to get the core patch out before the content goes out. We usually put the core patches out for existing content earlier.
Okay.
Keeps everything as stable as it can be and tries to minimize some of the deployment shenanigans that can go on.
Yeah. This next area coming up is really, really cool. So, when you dive down into, they call it the Southwest Corridor Trench, but it's like just like a concrete box almost that goes underneath the streets of Boston. A lot of curves and tunnels and stuff. I think it was originally going to be used as a highway, but then that idea got scrapped and they rerouted the railroad through it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a unique feature of the route. I could be wrong on the history of it, don't quote me.
I've heard crazier tales.
Yeah.
Like just outside Ebbsfleet Station, there's this concrete like bridge thing over the track. It's quite big, and no one can work out why. I mean, it's because they were like, well, there was a possibility we might build a shopping centre that crosses the track. So let's build it so that we don't have to worry about it later on if they end up making this cross shopping centre. And of course, a decade later, the shopping centre is yet to be materialised. So it just looks weird with this concrete block over the track.
But yeah, this is the Southwest Corridor Trench. Clear at Plains.
Another MBTA train.
Yep. So in real life, access is very, very aggressive around here. Like right about here is where the braking curve in real life starts to tick down. When I got my ride, I was really, really surprised. So yeah, they have you start braking very, very early.
While we're at a bit of a lull, Matt, can we do high and low horn outside? Oh, got some sparks.
That was a space bar.
You see some of the buildings have got their lights on in the backdrop as well now.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've got approach medium, suppression.
Yeah, so that signal is an implied approach medium pretty much every time. It can't be any more favorable than that. That's your first approach into Boston.
I always like to use the cruise control as a speed limiter, so that if I know I'm not supposed to be going above a certain speed, you can use the cruise control to just to prevent yourself from being silly. But yeah, things
And
like
that's a great use case because you got the 1% grade going down into the Back Bay Tunnel, so you can use the dynamics to control your speed through that.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it's in this bit exactly, but you're looking at buildings having a lot more lighting on as you come into as you're in the Boston area.
Good question from SW Student 33. When would you use low versus high horn?
So operationally, you can use a low horn, like let's say it's nighttime, and you have to blow the horn going over a grade crossing. Instead of blowing your high horn, you could instead use your low horn because it's quieter to have a less chance of disturbing the people around you. If you're in a yard area too with a lot of trains and you have to sound it, you might want to just sound a quieter version of the horn just out of respect.
Cool. So that kind of operationally is how you would utilize the lower horn as opposed to the higher horn.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's more use cases. I'm not an operator, so...
One of the things that came up during development when we were talking to people who've experienced it, like yourself, and even some people who use the system, was that players might have a misconception that you can follow this system. And because we were thinking that when we were trying to follow it, you almost certainly end up in a penalty break, a lot of the time. And it's because cAcTuSjUiCe is checking to make sure you are following the rules, not showing you what the rules are. So, if you haven't got the HUD on, then you better know what the upcoming speed limits are. Or you drive below them so that you can see the slow deceleration curves. So it's just something to bear in mind that access is not going to hold your hand on the route. Access is there to stop you from making mistakes.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's even said in the operating rules that access is not meant to replace engineer knowledge. You still need to have your speed limits memorized. It's only there to make sure you don't violate permanent speed restrictions, temporary speed restrictions, and stop signals at interlockings. It can enforce stops there.
Exactly that. So it's very much a if you haven't memorized the route and that's where the speed restrictions are, then keep your HUD on. Don't rely on where some cab signaling systems will kind of hold your hand through it. Access is just there to basically catch you out if you're not doing it right. Still, it's one of those things that it's just as with anything, when you turn the HUD off, if access doesn't catch you, then it's even more reinforcement and reward that you got it right.
Quick kind of follow-on question from the horn question. Who was it in the chat? Beastly Bill 88 asked, being from the UK, when are you supposed to use the bell when you're driving in the US? If you're me, all of the time.
Yeah.
But
the bell. Not all the time. So when you are starting to move from a dead stop, when you are moving through a tunnel, there are some tunnels that are exceptions, like the East River tunnels in Trenton that you'll see. You don't have to sound the bell through there. When you're passing a stopped train on an adjacent track, you have to sound the bell past that train. I think everything's spelled out in NORAC Rule 20, I think is what that is. If you look up the NORAC operating rules, look up Rule 20, I believe it is, and that has all the conditions.
Thanks, Brandon, for that.
I don't generally use the
welcome.
bell on the streams, by the way, just because drives everyone up the wall.
What are you talking about? I find it helps the ambience quite a lot.
Yeah, no. 30 seconds till we can get going.
Question about hearing the doors as well when we're closing and opening the doors. Which I guess we've got about 15 seconds before. If anybody's got any other questions about operating US locals, if you're not from the US or you're kind of seeing this for the first time, then please feel free to chuck them in the chat. We'd love to get them answered. We've obviously got Brandon on as well, who is infinitely more knowledgeable than I am about it. Sorry, I was cutting just so that you could hear the doors closing. So yeah, if you've got any questions about any of the operational stuff or whatever, we'll do our best to answer them. I'm not going to say Brandon's going to be able to answer everything, but he's going to do a lot better job than myself or Matt.
Appreciate that, JD. All right, so you got a medium approach signal at Cove. It's a weird area, Cove interlocking, because you always need to be prepared approaching Boston, prepared to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So the best signal you can always get here is medium approach. It's a non-conforming aspect too, the way they display it. The solid yellow over flashing red is very, very unique to this area. I have not seen it used anywhere else, but just know that that is a medium approach signal. Which simply means proceed prepared to stop at the next signal. If you're exceeding 30, begin slowing to 30 as soon as the signal is clearly visible. All of that's in the signal guide.
There's some pretty, if you Google it for the NORAC signals, there are some pretty decent charts and tables you can find to print out and have at your table beside you, telling you what signals, what they're called, because things like approach medium, limited clear, all these names we're using, they are the formal names for these aspects, and then these guides can tell you what that means in terms of, what speed you should be doing when you pass it, what speed you should be doing by the next signal. All of this stuff is covered by the name.
Yeah, and it just takes memorization to learn all of them. Not going to say it's easy, but it's not impossible.
It's practice makes perfect as well, isn't it? You're going to be if you're less familiar with the area than you are sort of an area that you're more local to, you're obviously going to be better at operating stuff around that area than you are perhaps around somewhere where you're less familiar to. But it's about kind of learning, getting that muscle memory and sort of understanding all of the pitfalls and the potential challenges of each route, and sort of becoming more expert with every time you do it.
Yeah, exactly. You throw me on Edinburgh, Glasgow, and I'm going to drive the train into a wall, most likely. But this area, no issues. So, yeah, you're right. All right, slow approach at Tower 1.
We are good into Boston South Station. This is our home. Let's take a look outside. So you can see Boston's looking a bit more lit up now.
More befitting of a city.
Big shout out to Ed, actually. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah,
I want to also call
cool
out, there's a name some of you in the community will almost certainly recognise, and that's Van Railer, who's worked with us, part of the beta team, and has provided tons of feedback and his experiences and thoughts and ideas, but also provided some actual sound recordings and so forth for the team to use as well. So I want to say a big shout out and a big thank you to Mike, not just for the Acela, but also helped us with the Stock-on-Trent as well.
Can I just quickly ask, because obviously Brandon obviously mentioned earlier that he was able to get some of the safety systems audio from his trip in the Acela, and we've crowdsourced a couple of other pieces from members of the beta team or members of the community. We get the raw footage, and what happens from there? Because obviously getting the raw footage is brilliant, but I assume it requires a bit of quite a lot of mixing and manipulating.
So there's a number of things. How clean is the sound is the first question, and does it need to be looped? So all of those things will need to be looked after. to end up with a clean sound that you can then use in the game. Now, how do you clean it? I don't know. Talk to an audio engineer, to be honest. They do magic audio tool things. They press buttons and they know what they're doing. But once they've got clean sounds, you can then attach those sounds to the events and then configure them up so that they occur in the right times, in the right ways, and so forth. And those events then come from the underlying systems in the train, which will be basically saying this alarm is now playing, and then they'll attach a sound to that essentially so that it plays an alarm.
Yeah, I know that a couple of my recordings for the Acela safety systems weren't the cleanest, so they had to synthesize a couple of them based on the recordings I got, and they came out phenomenal.
It's sometimes half the battle is just knowing what it should sound like. You know, these are not complicated. I think a lot of these sounds are not complicated sounds, so you can synth them, but it's actually knowing what they should sound like, and that's a big help. Rocking it into Boston.
Yeah, that's a pretty basic, well, not basic, because normally Acelas don't get signal downgrades like we saw by Sharon, but that's pretty standard run into Boston.
Wonderful.
You handled the train quite well, Matt.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you a B+.
Take that, JD. Brandon said I did well.
I mean, I don't think you said you did. I don't think you said you did well.
I'm taking that he said I did well.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. See, that's very English way of saying it was brilliant.
Yeah.
A couple of questions about mirror folding and seeing the mirror.
Does it do that? I don't know if it does that. I know you can.
Did they animate those?
You could pop the safety hatch open.
I know you can open the window, yeah, and you can put up the blind too. I don't know if you have to do it from the exterior view.
I don't know. I don't know is the answer to that one, so I'll look into that.
Yeah, all I know is that there's no reflections.
Yeah, you're getting some love in the chat as well, Matt, for driving and
Thank
not
you.
overshooting too far on a previous
Too
stream.
far.
Yeah, maybe there is a button on the right, but it's okay. You guys will be able to explore all the additional features of the Acela tomorrow.
So what I will say is I find the system it is quite intuitive. I would certainly recommend having the HUD on if you have not got memory the speeds memorized. But it's quite an intuitive system to drive to. And it is just literally as Brandon said there. You get something bad happens on the ADU, slap it into suppression, acknowledge the alarm, and let it slow down under the speed that it wants you to go. Release the brakes, and you're good. And it's kind of that basically.
Awesome. So, what we've got is just while Matt gets New York or Northeast Corridor, Trenton, so New York to Trenton, we're just going to do a little interim setup where we're just going to show you a little bit of gameplay, which has been pre-recorded of the Acela, so you can see it all again in a very short space of time.
We're going to have a look at the journey just real quick before we did that.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's go trains, journeys, Boston, acceleration and excellence. I'm going to take the gameplay team to one side and talk to them about that.
Give them a long, hard.
So 4 chapters.
You know that's the that's how the Acela got its name.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. There you go. So
It actually is a combination of those two.
Oh, really? Oh, I see. Okay, all right, maybe I won't then. Okay, fine, fair enough. Let's watch a video.
Let's watch a video and we'll be back in a second.
Such a good week. I took the whole week off from work, mostly for this release. I'm going to do a lot of streaming. It's going to be a blast.
Oh, we are looking forward to it, Brandon. And we said February on the video. Of course, we mean February 21st, i.e. tomorrow. We're looking forward to it. So, NEC, New York to Trenton, Matt. What have we got? Give us a little elevator pitch for this route and kind of tell us a little bit about what makes it special.
So the goal with this route, this is New York Penn Station heading south via Newark Airport, via Elizabeth, via Rahway, New Brunswick, down to Trenton Station. NJT is the major new operator on this route, new to the game. And NJT runs services from Penn, between Penn and Trenton. But obviously you also got Amtrak services that run up and down this line as well. A range of different services that Amtrak run on there, such as the Keystones and Northeast Regionals. And then you've got obviously the Acelas running on here as well. Now the Acelas, if you've got the Loco DLC for the Acela, then you get the extra bits on here to run the Acela. So this route, let me just go in this. So just you got 5 scenarios. There are, I think, 7 tutorials, because it's got tutorials for Access and ATC, which is the Amtrak system, and ASES, it's not a spelling mistake, ASES, and ATC, which is the NJT version of it. Now, they're fundamentally the same system, but they have different expressions on screens and so forth. And then you've got the timetable, which is, it says 300 services there. So we've got some Acela services. We've got some ACS 64, the ALP 46 NJT, the Amfleet Metroliner cab cars, which are on the Keystones. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. And then you've got the Metroliner multi-level commuter, the cab cars, is the other end of the NJT trains. So it's in terms of the experience, it's actually these trains are all doing really different things, because obviously the Expeller is Expeller.
Expelliarmus.
Oh, jeez.
Hogwarts on the mind.
That's going to become a new one.
Yeah. So the Acela is doing non-stop high-speed runs. The ACS does higher speed, lesser stopping runs. The NJT can be anything from stopping in every blade of grass to stopping less often. And you've got some deadhead runs into and out of yards. You've got some coaching stock moves around. Some of the services start at Jersey Avenue, I think it is, and will then be, I think they're an empty run up to Penn. So there's a fair variety of services doing lots of different things in there. So it is quite enjoyable. And also the trains are quite different to drive. So you got all of these different cabs. So in the pack itself, you've obviously got the 4, and then the Acela's the extra DLC. But you'll find that the NJT stock is different to drive than the other stuff because it's got manually lapped brakes. Which is, but we've got a slightly different take on how to interface with that. So I'm going to talk you through that as well. And I find it so much fun. I don't know what you think, Brandon. I really enjoy these manually lapped brakes.
I have had the hardest time coming to grips with not only brake terminology, like up until a couple weeks ago, I had no idea the difference between self-lap, manual lap. I didn't even know what the heck a lap was. So I've been getting schooled past couple of weeks on that.
So there's plenty to learn.
Though.
Right, can you remind me what we're doing for a service, Brandon?
3821.
We are doing... Oh, go right ahead, JD. He's got it.
On the ALP.
3821. And I'm going to give it a bit of like cloud.
3821.
Yeah, 3821 is what I put, yeah. Right, so I'm doing it custom rather than dynamic because I'm assuming that it's turning to rain by the time we leave the tunnel, and fog probably isn't going to help your visual of the route. So we're going to be departing New York Penn Station. We are not going to run the entirety of this service. We're going to run halfway to, is it Metropark?
Yeah,
yes.
Metropark.
Yeah, and then we're going to do the cab car running north to the middle. So we'll kind of do you will see the whole route, and you'll also get a decent amount of time in both cabs.
Yep, and then we're finally just going to finish with a little bit of the Amfleet Metroliner as well. So we're just going to do a very, very quick one station go on that one in the night time as well, so you can see a little bit at night.
Right.
So the route itself is 58 miles, which is 94 kilometres. And obviously we've talked about the loco and the rolling stock components as well. So Matt, I'll let you get us started with a little bit of an intro to the loco.
Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to get the passengers doing their thing so that we can get that delay sorted. Get the doors open. Don't tell me I've done it on the wrong side. I always do it on the wrong side. If I pick
I messed that one up the other day.
If I flip a coin, I will get it wrong.
It's the right doors, right?
It is the right doors. Yeah, it is. You just get the left ones closed. They're closed. Now open the right doors. For some reason the left doors have opened as well. Excellent. Right, see the thing is doing its thing. Right. Okay, so you've got a brake stand over here. When you take over a train, you need to make sure your brakes are cut in. You should find them already cut in, but that's where you cut them in if they're not. This is your manually lapping brake handle. You can see in the lap state, which is going to hold them where it is. And the black one is your independent brake. You've got your light controls here, so front headlights, ditch lights. You've got the sander, rear headlights, and your pantograph control. In the middle, you've got your ADU, the aspect display unit, and the SDU, the signal display unit, I guess. And you can see at the moment, CSS and SES are both saying they're cut out. So I will Control Enter, Shift Enter, and you will see we're now all cut in. If you want to do that, the more hands-on way, the three switches are right here. Just flip them on. So we are good, I think. So let's have a walk around outside. In fact, let's have a look at. If we walk around outside, we can also have a look at on the coaches and.
We'll take a look at Penn Station as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all freshly light baked, and so forth. So yeah, this is the Alp 46.
And someone in the chat, I can't remember who it is. I apologise because I've missed your name in it. It said it looks like the BR 185, and there is a reason for that, isn't there, Matt?
Yeah, I mean it's based on a BR 101. In its sort of family lineage is not unrelated to the BR 101 German train. So it's not a tracks like the 185, but it is. If you're seeing recognition, it looks like a German electric train, then there's a reason for that.
Yep, and as is standard now, we've left everybody sort of 2 minutes at the start of each service just to get everything set up and ready to go.
So this out here cycles, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, it's the next station, the destination, and the train number.
Ooh, I have to freshen up on that. I'm not quite sure.
And all I'm saying is I'm digging the pink.
It's a good looking
Yeah,
train.
it is a nice livery. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. We won't go to the other end because we're going to be spending time in the cab car as it is. Let's get back in the end we're supposed to be in and make the magic happen. Right, so we're already in forward. Let's get the doors closed. We've got our signal. So the way that this works is the green bar here tells you what your speed limit is. So basically you follow that, and that green bar goes up and down, telling you what your speed limit is, and or if you're over that speed limit and so forth.
Exactly. And as access ticks down the braking curve, you'll actually see that green band go down as you're approaching the restriction, similar to how the Acela ticked down.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty cool.
But so bear in mind the difference. So ATC signal drops happen immediately without warning, whereas SES signal drops will follow a braking curve. So you see it suddenly drop down. That probably means it was a signal curve. So this control, what we've done with it is we've made it snap. So if you want to, you just press it once, it'll just snap up. Press it once and it'll snap down. So now if you want to apply the brakes a little bit, so let me just wait for everything to fully release. So if I go back up into lap, and if I just apply it into service and back to lap, you'll see that I haven't let everything recharge properly. But you can pop up and down these brakes, and that's really going to help you. You're not fighting against the slow motion of the lever to get things. You literally are just tapping them to get where you want, and you can get much more fine control over it. There brake cylinder did apply. So it's a bit of practice to get used to how to use the manually lapping brakes, but like I said, once you get the hang of it, it is quite fun. So let's get moving. We're on a restricting aspect at the moment by the looks of it. Track speeds in Penn are
yes.
15 miles per hour. So even though your ADU is giving, your SDU is giving you 20 miles per hour, you're actually 15 mile per hour limit down here, which is what you can see.
Yeah, so
over here on
everything
the HUD.
within Penn Station is going to be a restricted speed move. So even though you see green over red on this signal, it doesn't mean clear. It means slow clear. And conversely, lost for words. Yellow over red doesn't mean approach. It means slow approach. So all these things will be done at 15 miles an hour.
So you do have this is a combined handle. It is your electric brake or dynamic brake, and it is your throttle. And I will try and remember to call out how that is different on the cab car, even though it's an identical control.
Just on
They're
the,
requesting you blast the horn in here, but please don't.
a couple of people talk about sort of the snapping mechanism. Is that something that works with Raildriver? Is it sort of...
Yeah, it's all
lined up
Raildriver compatible. I mean, obviously the Raildriver is a physical lever, so it will move according to what your lever is doing. I've not actually tried it to see exactly how it's represented, but it's all of these trains work with the work just fine with the Raildriver. No problem there at all. What this does is it improves the keyboard and the controller experience. It's much better on both of those. If you're someone who likes to get hold of the controls and move them around, they are still free moving, and you might find it a little harder to use actually on the mouse compared to the keyboard, which is significantly easier now.
Oh, you see there's quite a lot of traffic at the station.
That's because Matt left about a minute late. The station, the tempo here is very, very, very fast.
Just put a bit of brake on there to slow us down until we actually get the benefit of the speed. It is blended braking as well, so you'll find that as brakes apply, after a moment the dynamic brakes will blend in, and then it'll cut out some of the brake cylinder pressure. Like that. You see how it's, as the yellow bar increased, the brake cylinder went away. But now we can get going again, so I can release the brakes. I'll try and call that out when we're actually
that
trying to slow
feature
down.
tripped me up yesterday during testing. We were doing a live stream in one of the other Discords and just testing things. And I was like, why am I getting a penalty brake? And they're like, no, it's because after a while this kicks in. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But I was so confused.
So you can see on the SDU we've got 60 miles per hour, we're all good to go. We've got the green aspect over there.
Yep, clear in the cab.
No cruise control on this one. Let me put the instrument lights on.
cAcTuSjUiCe asks, is this tunnel also used for subway trains?
There aren't any
No.
subway trains in Penn, are there?
No, I mean there's a separate path train, the Port Authority subway that takes a separate tunnel into New York, which you can actually see at Harrison Station as we get closer to Newark Penn. I don't think it's modeled, but like the trackage is there. That's the subway thing, or the closest to it.
A couple of people have also asked about release times and release dates. So everything you're seeing tonight, whether that's the Acela, whether it's this route, whether it's the Union Pacific Heritage Collection, is coming out tomorrow. For consoles, it will come out at some point during the morning. If you're UK based, probably very early in the morning if you're US based, and then for Steam and for Epic it will be slightly later on in the afternoon, probably mid to late afternoon for UK, which might be late morning, early afternoon for our US players. So we try and be as specific as we can do, but sometimes some of these things require to be put live manually, so we don't want to give an exact time just in case everybody's waiting by their consoles or their PCs to be able to get it.
Oh, you've got some controls for second man's wiper, your heater, which has sound on it. You've got the driver's wiper. You've got the cab temperature, You've got the HVAC. These all have little sounds on them, so you can make the cab a little bit more, have a bit more fan noise in the cab if you want to make, liven the cab up a little bit, or you can turn them off if you don't. Once again, they will not heat or cool your cab yourself in reality. They're just there to make noise.
But they do add additional sounds, so it does add immersion.
It does improve the ambience in the cab, definitely.
And don't worry,
I think the Acela does the same thing.
And don't worry, we'll be using the horn as soon as we get out of this tunnel. We don't want to deafen everybody.
It's illegal to use the horn in the tunnels and in the station because eardrums would not survive.
If you had to, in emergency, you'd use the low horn. So I have my stream of this muted, just because it would be weird hearing everybody's voices twice. But does everybody like that horn? It sounds really good. When I heard the previous recordings.
I think the chat like the horn.
The horn is amazing.
They like it.
Big shout out to FanRailer for being able to supply us with the exterior horn. Which
Mike really hooked us up with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. It was something that was like we want to improve the horn. We had the best horn that we could get prior to this. And people on the forums were saying, "Oh, the horn outside is a good horn, but it doesn't sound quite right." So FanRailer was able to secure that. So big shout out and thank you to FanRailer. Yeah,
and shout out to the audio team as well as obviously. Make it all sound good in practice as well. Matt, apparently your is it your tail lights might be on?
That was entirely intentional. Gentle application,
just a cAcTuSjUiCe station.
You can see we've got reduction.
Yeah, because this is a limited speed move, so it's preparing you to slow down at limited speed. Or switch at limited speed.
Whoops. As you can see, I'm getting on really well with the system.
Nah, it's fine.
Better, I've cleared it.
Yeah, I sometimes have to put the automatic brake into handle off in order to reset a traction lock.
So it's lap. So the thing that reacts will release most things is put it into lap and being under whatever target speed. That's the release condition. So it's not always obvious to put it in lap if your brakes are already on. But you put it in lap and you should better recover from it. In this instance, what happened here, by the way, is I accidentally pressed the button too many times and went to emergency brake.
It's a good demo of the emergency brake, though, Matt.
And recovering from it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say it was deliberate, but I think we both know I'd be lying.
They would be lying.
But when we get up to speed, Matt, do you want to show the route map, or when we get into the next station, show the route map?
Absolutely, yeah. When we get to cAcTuSjUiCe.
Yeah, and turn off the cab light as well.
It's off.
It's off. Cool.
Limited clear at Erie interlocking. Coming up to cAcTuSjUiCe track B.
I tell you what Brandon doesn't know about the Northeast Corridor is just simply not worth knowing. Absolutely amazing.
What, you mean the signal aspects?
Well, just generally, it's you've been researching the Northeast Corridor as a personal project for a long time, haven't you? It's kind of a personal fascination.
A lot of it started with the Google Earth project, where I was actually tracing paths for all the tracks and putting the speed limits down and putting down every signaling point. Which I use as development reference. A lot of research. Absolutely.
I can imagine that's quite a labor of love.
Sure, it's a great hobby. It's honestly a passion, and it's cool to have something like that. Something that you can enjoy outside of just working all the time,
Oh no, absolutely. Right. Let's get the doors open. What do you want me to do?
Let's have a look at the map, shall we?
The map.
Let's do a little bit of
Who
commentary.
do you call when you want to know where to go? Right. There's Penn Station here. You've got West Side Yard over here, which is all a Long Island actual yard, but it's there. You've got Penn Station. You've got the two tunnels. coming out to cAcTuSjUiCe. You've then got the yard over here.
Portal Bridge.
Yeah, and then you go into Newark Penn over here. And then round to Newark Airport. I think this is, isn't it? Yeah, this is Newark Airport. And then we head on down past many stations I can't remember the name of. And this is Rahway. I love this place. I can never not remember this because every route has at least one Rahway station. Yes, I went there. For those of you that remember TS Classic, this is the path of the North Jersey coastline. It's where all the underpasses and so forth are. So this heads on down here, and we've got more crazy stations and place names and things. And that's not what I'm thinking it is. Keep going, keep going, keep going. This is Princeton. I remember that because it has a branch telling me it's Princeton. And no, there's a little single bubble car runs up and down here in reality, isn't it?
I'm not too sure in the history of that line.
I think it's just a single. When you're looking at it, it's just a special train that runs up and down there. So then you've got the line opens out a bit, and you end up in Trenton.
Cool.
So
do you want to zoom out, Matt, just so we can see it all on? It's quite. It's a long route, isn't it? It feels like it's quite a substantial route. Do you know how many stations off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, no.
God, I can tell you if you give me like 30 seconds.
You can have 30 seconds.
You can absolutely have 30 seconds, Brandon.
The other thing is, this is quite a long route, but this is a long city route. I mean, it's a shorter route than something like Sherman or Cajon, but a much more difficult route to make.
17 stations.
17 stations.
17 stations. Someone in the chat got there just before you, Brandon, but I'll let you have it.
I have the Amtrak employee timetable up, so that's how I counted.
Right, let's get sped up. Give it some beans.
Oh, wait, no, it is 16. I'm sorry. I accidentally highlighted Rahway twice. So whoever said 16
That's
is
how
correct.
important railway stations are.
I accidentally highlighted North Rahway as like a point of interest or whatever as a station. Oops. 16. It would be 17 if we counted Harrison. But I digress.
I love these coaches. They look awesome.
So whoever said 16, sorry,
Gold
I was
star.
wrong.
So just in terms
All
of
right, so you had a limited clear at LAC coming up to Portal Bridge. What's up, JD?
No, you go, Brandon. That seems a little more important than what I was going to say.
No, I was just calling signals. That's all.
Cool. Okay, so just in terms of the playable services on the route, my total number that I have written down here is 289. And those are all playable services. Makes it I believe, the most amount of services on a US route that we've had thus far. In total, that is 123 Amtrak services. Those are broken down. There is a thread on the forums and also in an article on how those are broken down. That's 121 NJT services. And there's 45 Acela services that layer onto this too.
All I'm going to say is, as I look over this marshland over here, if you know, you know.
That is a great shot.
It's just a fantastic route. There's such a there's a lot of variety in what you see. The route changes as well, in terms of the scenery. It's always busy, but like here we're on 2 tracks. Later on we're on 4 tracks, and it's. I've actually spent a little bit of time. I was trying to test a couple of bugs out over the weekend. Just stood on a station watching various things and just watching trains go by. It's amazing. There's something about an Acela. I don't know where Acela comes from.
Ooh.
Where an Acela goes flying past. It's just amazing.
You can't see this, but I've actually just put like a cross up to Matt, just to try and ward him off.
Power of Christ compels you, or the power of JD compels you.
I quite like that. I might use that more often.
Stop giving him
Clear and
ideas.
swift.
It's hard enough.
So as we're passing landmarks or interesting scenery points, then again, feel free to jump in and just tell us a little bit about them. Because again, to be honest, this is a little bit new to me. I've never been around this area before, so I'm interested to find out a little bit more about the various different quirks and funky landscape bits and pieces that we can talk about too.
I've been to Newark Airport.
Yeah, so this is...
We didn't leave the airport. Yeah, we didn't leave the airport. It was an interchange, but at least I can say I've been to Newark Airport. So.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so this is Swift interlocking, and then we're coming down into Hudson interlocking. And this is a big interchange with some other New Jersey Transit lines as they divert off of the Northeast Corridor. So you'll see some trackage over there on the right. I'm not entirely certain which lines those are, and then you have some other tracks on the left. But this is a big point, Swift and Hudson.
So one of the other things you'll notice is that you've got these impedance bonds on the track that we're going over, these little things between the rails, as well as having the colour light signals. And you're going to get changes in... Oh, speaking of the Acela, you're going to get changes in cab signal aspect based on all of these things. So it's not just when you go past a real signal or you're approaching a colour light signal, you're going to get this what we know, what code change points, what they're called, and what you could also call invisible signals, essentially. So you don't be surprised if you get them coming up at different points, not just at colour lights.
Yeah, so the impedance bond plays a pretty technical function in the overall signaling system and allows the traction current from the overhead line to continue through while blocking signal current. The presence of them on an electrified railway is what essentially creates your signal blocks, especially on continuously welded rail like most of the Northeast Corridor is. The presence of impedance bonds are what actually establish your signaling blocks.
Right, so when you get a reduction, if you remember when we were on the Acela, when you get a reduction request coming through from cab signalling, the instruction was put it into suppression, as in move the lever into the suppression notch. I don't know quite what it's telling me to do here. Oh, it's because I'm at the head of the curve. Okay. You put it into suppression notch, and then you can adjust to slow down. But you don't have a suppression notch with this. You've got lap and you've got service and so forth. So what you need to do is you need to be slowing down enough, essentially. And the way that you achieve that is by what it's technically looking for is for you to get the EQ, the equalizing reservoir, the third dial down there, which is currently saying 110. It wants that down to 94 or lower, and then drop it into lap to hold it there, and then you will satisfy the requirements for the speed reduction. So it's 94 on the equalizing reservoir, which is then going to effectively happen on the brake pipe, which will then have the impact on the brake cylinders and so forth. But what you're controlling is the equalizing reservoir. So when you get the thing saying you're going too fast, you need to slow down, 94 on the equalizing reservoir, put it back into lap, acknowledge, and then you can release it as soon as you're underneath the speed limit again. Now, what that means is that you'll always undershoot the speed limit and speed back up again, back up to the speed limit, and that's how it works.
Yeah, that's one thing that confused me very recently. So I'm so used to the self-lapping system, where you just set it into a notch, like minimum, suppression, full service, etc., and it handles the appropriate brake application. But with this, you have to memorize the brake values, like Matt was saying, bring it down to 94 on the equalizing reservoir for suppression. So you have to memorize those numbers instead in order to achieve the same braking rates.
Well, the way that I do it is, when I'm not paying enough attention to what I'm doing sometimes, is spam all of the brake keys into emergency, and that will shut the alarm up as well.
Yes.
We call that one doing a map.
It'll also make the dispatcher angry.
Yeah, the dispatcher's not a real person though, so I'm fine with that. No, I'm going to stop here with a fair bit of brake. So I've got it in lap, and we've got lots of brake going on. So and we're all good.
It's
so
like
I'm going
a full service application.
Yep. So, but I did that on purpose. So I've opened the doors. Now, while the doors are open, I'm going to drop the brake back into the hold position. Now, when I do that, watch the brake pipe and the EQ numbers, and you'll see that they come back up. Now, in most American brake systems, what happens is when the brake pipe rises, the brakes release that they are intrinsically linked together, that the brakes release on a rising brake pipe. But this hold state is actually sending it's what they call an EP hold, and what it does is it sends an electrical signal to the coaches saying, hold your brakes on regardless. So while I'm in that hold state, the brakes won't come off. Regardless, and it allows the brake pipe and the EQ to recharge back up to full again, so that as soon as the doors are closed, I pop it into release, and the brakes will then just all come immediately off on the train, and the brake pipe is already ready to go back up to full speed again. This is the same behaviour that if you played Caltrain on the F40PH has the same system on it.
You just blew my mind. I didn't even know about that feature. I kept hearing EP hold and all that, and I'm still learning all this brake terminology, guys. So yeah, that's awesome knowledge.
It's a cool feature. It's
definitely going to use that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool feature. And the thing I've seen, I've spoken to some people that know this equipment quite, really well, and there are different ways that you can employ it. Like they'll actually be already back in the hold position as the train is coming into the station, not even stopped yet. So it's there's some really cool ways that you can use that. It's just different to what you might normally have seen. We've got another NJT coming in there. Newark International Airport is next.
Yes, it is.
It's the subway over on the right, isn't it? This third rail, the tracks with the third rail on it.
Yeah, I believe the PATH train terminates here.
Right, let's speed up for 2 miles to the next station. We've just had the
Approach
reduction
limited.
down.
So that was the distant for Cliff interlocking, and we're coming up on Cliff. A lot of interlockings around here. It's very, very signal dense between Penn Station and Newark Airport. But then after that, it starts to open up a bit more. The speeds increase a lot. And now, once we get past Newark Airport, this is going to be the first new trackage that the community has seen.
Yes. Yeah, the original. So this stretch of the route is based on the original New York Foundation, the New Rochelle to Newark route that was released for Train Sim Mod 2020. So this is based on that route, this section of that route. And then the route's been then extended, and it's a bit of a mishmash actually, because there's been lots of discussions in the community about merging and so forth. Well, this actually is a merge route because it merges Sunnyside and Penn from Long Island with the Penn to Newark Airport from New Rochelle, Newark. And then adds the additional trackage onto the end of it. So the reason for using the Sunnyside and Penn from Leah is it was a more modern implementation of it. It was a much better implementation of those bits than were in the New Rochelle Newark route. So it was important to get sort of like the combination that worked the best and looked the most accurate. So and then there's other work being done on the section of the route as well to brush it up, and then obviously the majority of the work then goes on the quite extensive new section of trackage once you get through Newark Airport. Signalling across the entirety of the route has obviously been redone because it had a number of problems. I don't know if those of you that remember the route will remember that originally you had to drive through the Penn tunnels really slowly. So it's that situation is obviously a lot better now, yes, it's all compatible with the new systems as well. We're on version 4 of our Access and ATC module now internally. So yes, it moves on rapidly.
It does. Yeah, there's a lot of features being added all of the time, like the new speed classes. That's another thing that got added with this route. The different speed classes for speed restrictions. So I don't know if it's fully functional yet, but like if you're taking a ACS 64 versus an Acela, you might get different
yes.
speed limit values.
It's been so with the full Northeast Corridor, I think has something like 6 or 8 different speed classes. Now, in this is like the difference between in UK terms, it's like freight speed limits versus HST speed limits, Pendolino speed limits, that sort of thing. And you normally only have like two. No, it's normally two, and I think worst case is 2 or 3, maybe 4 in the worst areas. So there's a wide range. Now, in this route, the ones that have been set up are the ones relevant to the trains. So you get the different speed limits for the different classes of trains that are included in this route.
Yeah, so the Acela is Type A, the ACS 64 is Type B, or if tilt is cut out on the Acela, it's also Type B, and then NJT is Type C, and then freight is Type E. Type D is barely used.
Simon's GoPro video asked, do we get all 5 of the locos on Trenton Route for 8th gen as well? Yep. Everything that you're seeing tonight is available for for both 8th and 9th gen consoles. Brandon, Raptors asked in the chat, what's Type D?
Yeah, I was just going to answer that. So Type D is usually comprised of special cars. Like if you had a special mail car in your consist, those might fall under Type D restrictions, which are just a little bit lower than Type C. Might be like 75 miles per hour in an area instead of 90. And there's a list of special cars that fit that bill in the Amtrak employee timetable.
We're on our way to North Elizabeth now.
Just passed a cab speed signal, and yeah, we're on our way. Nice. And this is where the last route, or the original route, physically ended. Pretty much right here. I remember exploring up to this point. Then the track just suddenly ending. So it's so cool, all of us that have been following Train Sim World's development since 2018, 2017, and even earlier, finally get to see more content for the Northeast Corridor past this section.
Yeah, really. I just completely blew that because I was too busy outside doing horns and cameras and things, and it chose that moment to give me a speed reduction. Typical.
It's okay. We'll give you a drug test in Trenton, or Metropark.
Morgan's asked, does this route use the new OHLE system?
It's the same system. It's just a different approach that we've got. We've got a dedicated staff member now whose entire job is to look after OHLE on all the routes that we do, to understand how OHLE works in all the different countries. So you'll find some parts of this route, it's literally almost like every other gantry is a different gantry. It's crazy. To
add on to that, I got some more insight on that. So actually, you just passed one. I've got a bit of a delay, but you'll see counterweights sometimes on some of the catenary poles. And what that is part of is the constant tension catenary system. That was part of the catenary upgrades because in order to go higher speeds, 150, they needed to upgrade the catenary infrastructure to be constant tension. So what is that? There are pulleys and counterweights that are applying constant certain amount of downward force onto the catenary to make it more taut. So before, it was just normally strung catenary. So if it's really hot, it's going to expand and it's going to sag. If it's really, really cold, then it's going to get tighter. The constant tension uses the weights to keep a constant amount of force, regardless of temperature and other outside conditions. So that was a prerequisite, and you actually do see that on the route, which I thought was awesome.
That is... I have no idea that was implemented. That is very interesting.
One of the key things that players have asked us for is all of the relevant tensioners and so forth from all the different systems, and this is the first time we're putting it into an American route. So I think it first appeared in the Southeastern when Lee did it for that. So Lee spends a lot of time learning OHLE and loving OHLE. He's taught himself 3D modeling so he can make all his own custom assets, so that he gets all the myriad of unique assets that he wants to be able to represent it. And he does him and the team do an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, Lee. I spoke to him last week. Great guy. Super talented.
He's really detail focused. Like a lot of the this is another example of like got this mix of different gantry types going on here.
Yeah, so some of the newer stuff versus the older original PRR, Pennsylvania Railroad stuff. They've been swapping things out here and there as they've been failing, but some of the original infrastructure still exists in the lower speed areas.
That's cool. So, Ratifus, apologise, I don't know the full context of your question, but has asked if is it all right if I asked about brake suppression again without spamming. Definitely not what I said the first time. Brake suppression. I can't remember if we've talked about it yet or not, or in what relation that means. Ratifus, if you have more context for that question, please put it back in the chat, and we can answer it perhaps a little bit more fully.
Yeah, I saw his question kind of before, but it kind of got lost. I was trying to search for it earlier, but I couldn't find it. Sorry, Ratty, we didn't see it.
Getting up there, 0.8 miles to Elizabeth.
Yes. So did you just make a stop at North Elizabeth? I wasn't paying much attention.
That was North Elizabeth, yes.
Okay, perfect. Approach limited. That is the distance signal for Elmora. So what you're going to find, this area has a very bad history, the Elizabeth curves. I don't know like the full detailed history, but I think there was a pretty bad derailment here because of an overspeed. So what they did was they used the signaling system to force a drop at certain points. So you'll find that even if you're not switching tracks or anything and there's nothing in front of you, you're going to get drops to approach medium in the cab, usually by means of an approach limited signal before Elizabeth. And the reason is because of that history. They used the signaling system to enforce speeds before access and aces were even a thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's how, if you want to slow a train down without PTC, then you've got to use the ATC to do it, and by dropping your aspect, haven't you? Because
Metro North does it all the time.
Yeah,
they'll have aspect drops before curves because of their bad history with stuff like that. So Amtrak does the same thing too.
This is a speed-based signaling system, so there are unlike in the UK where there are sort of like best practices that drivers do for what they do with a double yellow or a yellow, and hopefully most of them have this consistent approach for a red. But it's every individual aspect has instructions and a speed associated with it, or a speed associated with it, in telling you exactly what to do at that. So yeah, it's good. It'd be good to find out be a subject of a nice article, I think, actually. Yeah, JD.
I will make a note.
Yeah, it's just part of the history here. Before PTC, I heard of a situation where an Acela went through this curve. Normally, it's rated for 85 miles an hour in one part, 80 in the other. The train went through at about 100 miles an hour, maybe 105. Not enough to derail or anything, but it whacked all the track out of alignment. And I think after that is when they implemented the downgrade to approach medium before the curve.
We're off to Linden
Could be wrong
next.
on that. But, yeah.
Matt, a couple of players have mentioned about AI pantographs being down, I think it was. They shouldn't be. So we'll add that to we'll make a note of that.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. I'll try and keep an eye out for that and raise that with the team if that's true.
Limited clear at Elmora. So Ratty, he did post his question, and I understand what he's asking. I think he's more talking about the MBTA stock with how suppression is past full service on the brake handle. I don't really know if that's prototypical or not. I did notice it though, and I thought it was odd myself. Do you guys know anything about that?
I don't. I'll have to go and dig out the MBTA manuals and find out what the deal was there. I seem to remember there being some surprise at it at the time. So there's a tensioner.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the counterweights. That actually looks really good. Like, I see them all the time up here, and that's pretty spot on.
So I'll give I'm giving some random shout outs here, but we talked about the audio, but the whole audio team I think have really worked hard for that. Our panto is down, is it? Oh, it is. What on earth?
Wait, our pan's down? Holy crap. Okay. I'll bug it in Jira now.
Yeah, get that bugged. Why have we not noticed that? I wonder what's that. That's weird.
Okay, that's so interesting. That is.
I mean, I've literally spent time driving down the route doing nothing but watching the pantograph going up and down. So, as in
what
following the
happens
wire.
if you hit once you comply with this speed restriction? This access is kind of reaming on you. There is a pantograph up toggle on the center console. I think it's the switch all the way to the right.
Yeah, I just tried that while we were going, and it's not had any effect. I will look at that one after and find out what the story is there.
Okay. Yeah, Cyclone says solar-powered trains.
Yeah, battery powered. Right, coming into Linden.
Yeah, that'll get fixed, guys. Don't even worry about that one.
Oh yeah.
That's low-hanging fruit.
Just a quick note, though. Bearing in mind it's tomorrow. It'll be a post-release.
Oh yeah, it'll be a post-release. Yeah, the game's coming out. This add-on's going out tomorrow, so it won't be for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll make a note to bug that as soon as the stream's over.
That's fine. That stop was almost perfect. There you go. See it? All the coaches are on there.
A couple of people have asked
good
about
stuff.
Times. We've talked about it a couple of times already in terms of the release times for the content. If you are interested and excited about the content coming in, for console players, you'll be getting access UK time sort of mid-morning. So US time, that's probably very early in the morning wherever you're based. And then for Steam and Epic players, that will be mid to late afternoon our time, which will be sort of late morning lunchtime on East Coast, but a little bit earlier on in the morning for West Coast, and everywhere in between. Delete as appropriate.
Oh, my favourite place. Going to the railway station.
Oh, railway. You love that place.
I love everything about railways. Kind of wonder why it's not called Railroad, but there you go.
Oh, is that what you're getting at? Like the way some of us pronunciate?
Well, it sounds like railway, doesn't it?
Pronounce certain words in like a New York accent or whatever. Yeah, I'm going to the railway station.
So this is the junction where North Jersey Coastline trains head off. So you'll find that the tracks will shoot off to the right shortly.
Yeah, there's one interlocking first, Merck, and then you get to Union, where the North Jersey coastline splits off.
Yeah.
That's in like another mile or so. Couple miles.
Oh yes, it's after Rahway, isn't it? We haven't got to Rahway yet. That's it. We've
What was that
complied.
downgrade? I didn't catch the signal.
Me either. I was too busy stargazing.
Can
No,
we
it's
get,
fine. I'm sure it's a limited speed move.
Can we get another couple of horn bursts, please?
Whoa, look at that Amfleet roaring up there. Nice.
Yeah, one of those Keystone services.
I love the fact that trains are just, you got the commuter trains like this, but you'll have trains genuinely going fast by you as well. So it's kind of nice bit
Yeah,
of
it's
drama.
like that in real life.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy and it's scary sometimes if you're just a passenger sitting and you don't expect it and you're stopped. Like let's take Boston for example. You're in an MBTA train and an Acela just scoots by you at 150. It is kind of shocking.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's similar here.
You'll feel that, I guess, as well.
You do. It actually shifts the train a little bit.
Yeah. Right, that's Rahway.
It's quite an attractive station. I like the sort of the teal-coloured roof.
Hmm.
Yeah, it almost looks like aged copper. Like the Statue of Liberty.
Okay, Metro Park and the end of this run.
Yeah, I think I just saw your signal is approach medium. At Union. I'm expecting a 30-mile-per-hour crossover next. Now that's one thing about approach medium. People, and I pointed this out in my signal video, people think, oh, we have to approach the next signal at 30 miles an hour, which is true, but you can go 45 miles an hour after passing an approach medium. It's just you got to be prepared to slow down to 30 before passing the next signal.
Yeah.
So remember that little caveat.
You can
Some
keep a
people
bit
might
of
think it's
speed
a
up
bug.
and just drop your speed before you get to the signal.
Yeah, it all depends on what the next signal's doing, of course. But just be prepared to be going 30. That's all. And that track circuit just dropped you down to a 30 cab. So
You're going down a hill like this, you might find it easier to use the electric brake rather than the dynamic brake, which is the pushing the lever forward like that. Help you maintain the speed. It's easier to use than the air brakes.
now that's one thing I wanted to bring up because it was brought to my attention either yesterday or the day before, and I found it intriguing. There is a reason for it. The dynamic brake only works in the ALP-46 locomotive, not in the multi-level cab car.
Spoilers!
That's by design. Like, that's real life.
I know. I was going to tell them that
Does
when we got into the cab car.
Ah, okay. Well, I brought it up now.
Oh, that's it. Let's not do the cab car then. Sorry, blame Brandon.
No, it's not even for it being Dovetail's fault. It's like a legit
No,
thing in
exactly.
real life.
Yeah, because it's a standard. You'll find this part is exactly what's in there, and they just haven't wired up the other half of it because, well, it has no electric brake to operate. You still get blended brake, so when you apply the air brakes, the locomotive at the back of the train will still apply its electric brake, but you don't have direct control over it like you do when you're actually in the loco itself.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know the backstory.
You've got no motors, so you can't have a
community at
dynamic.
large aware of it.
You've got no motors. You've got no dynamic brake.
Yeah, you just think it would communicate with the loco,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So after we get to Metro Park, we are going to be taking the multi-level cab car from Trenton to Metro Park. So we'll be doing that kind of half of the route after this. I'll be doing a quick little showcase of the ACS 64 with the Amfleet Metroliners as well. And we're going to do that in the night as well, so you can see what the nighting looks like on the route. And then we're going to be doing a little bit of the Union Pacific Heritage Collection too after that.
Nice. Alright, just passed a medium clear. So that's definitely why you had an approach medium back there. There we go, the cab's picked right back up. Good stuff. We are very close to Metro Park.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, and I only realized this recently when I was doing more testing with the Trenton equipment. When you're running an all-stops service, like, it takes a long time. There's a lot of content in this pack.
Oh yeah, but just one of the things I liked about it with what when I've been doing the testing is just the variety of services. There's services that stop in different stopping patterns, take different paths through the route, and the amount of time it takes. It's an express train will obviously get there a lot faster, but you can feel it in the timetable and how you're driving it.
Yeah, there's a lot of replayability because there's a mix of local services, which make pretty much all stops, like this one. And then there's a semi-express service, which skips stops like Metro Park and whatever. And then I even saw a couple super express services, which mostly just stop at a couple places and then go straight to like Jersey Avenue or something. So there's a nice mix. And then, of course, you have the Keystones and Palmettos, or all these other niche services that you can operate as well. And the Acela, of course, getting up to 150 miles an hour is a joy.
Yes, you can do that on this route as well.
A lot.
Both routes will support 150.
All right, so we're at Island Interlocking, the last one before Metro Park. Amtrak occasionally stops at this station too, if I recall, right?
Yes. Yeah, this is an Amtrak station as well.
Yeah, some of the timetable services do stop at Metro Park. I can't remember how many. Joe sent me a list of the things that he was able to glean from the services list.
Right, okay. I thought so. It's kind of a nice midpoint for the route.
So we are here.
We are here.
Ta-da! Okie dokie. Well, shall we finish this one, and then we will move into the other half of the route, and we can do that with the multi-level cab car.
What's the service I'm running for that one?
3856.
3738.
Oh, did that change since?
Matt just typed the wrong number in.
Oh, okay. Again, stream lag.
Ever with the judging. Right, so this is going to be starting at Trenton in the south of the route and heading north.
Good stuff. We've been having such good conversation. I haven't been able to be the conductor that I wanted to be for you, Matt. I'm disappointed. I failed you.
Good.
We can roleplay now.
We can roleplay now. Unless there's more questions. Have you seen any interesting questions, JD?
I can hold the questions, or I can gather them if you wanna be conductor, Brandon.
That's fine. We got some downtime. We got a couple minutes to load this train up.
They noticed the screen that was on my left is entirely comfortably up there.
Yeah, you gotta wrench your neck.
This is where your alerter is up here. Speaking of which, Control Enter, Shift Enter. We are now got safety systems on. You got your pantograph control here. You've got your gauge lights. We've got cab heaters. Yes, sounds. Cab light, marker light. Let's turn that off. That's the red lights. And we will have our auxiliary lights on manual. We'll put our headlights on bright because I hate other engineers apparently. So we've got the cut in again here, which we don't need to do. It should default to it. We're in the lap position. We've got our SDU confirming everything's cut in. You've got this swip feature here for cab signaling system or non-cabling system. It's which territory you're in. Everything on this route should be in the up position with CSS. If you turn it off, remind me, does that turn SES off? Or does it just disable all of what's going on with the SDU?
Which switch were you talking about?
The CSS territory switch.
I think that just disables the cab signaling system.
Cab signal, okay, yeah. This distinction flashing thing in the top right corner here, by the way, is not a bug. That's actually there to because sometimes the screen doesn't do anything intentionally, and the flashing light there is to tell the engineer that everything is still good. I remember raising that ticket with the
approach in the cab.
So I'm going to pop the brakes release.
And access is enforced, or ACES. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's ACES on this side.
Track speed. Yeah.
ASES.
Track speed of 15. ACES.
It's a power. These wimpy little German locos against the heaviest coaches known to man.
All right.
Can we get a horn?
NJ Rail 3856. Okay to proceed east on signal indication. Over.
Sorry, I didn't realize we were back in the role play.
Oh yeah. Want to get some of it in. What's up, JD? You were gonna say something?
I'm just having a horn frenzy.
Oh, all right. Yeah, like I said, I have this muted. You got a medium clear at fair.
It's a bit different driving the cab car because you're remote controlling the loco at the other end, and you're just driving. What you're in is just a coach. You can operate this as well.
Oh, I like that. That's a nice little nod to manual kind of stuff rather than everything being digital. I quite like it.
There is a guard panel
car
on the coaches.
Are weird.
Yeah, they are. I quite enjoy them. So there is
different.
guard controls in the vestibules over here. And you can key in on those and operate the buttons, which will operate high doors, which are these ones, low doors, which are these ones. and close them again and so forth. As always, there is no official guard mode in the game, but you can press the buttons in the same way you would normally look to press those buttons. So we're on our way now to Hamilton.
Yep, we're coming up on Ham interlocking right
You see what I mean
now.
about gantries changing? Like, make your mind up
It's
time.
like a spider's web.
Clear at Ham. So yeah, this is definitely the faster end of the route from Trenton to what would you say, like New Brunswick?
Oh, it's
pretty much.
easily that, because it's the straightest section, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So it's weird. It's a weird mix-up. So from Penn Station to Metro Park, where we just played, you got slower stuff, but then the other half is really, really fast. So they're two completely different tempos, which I find interesting.
The NJT stock is 100 miles per hour. I don't think it's written in here, but yeah, this stuff it's 100 miles an hour.
This one is, but they do have a variety that does go 125, if I'm not
The
mistaken.
46A will do 125, yeah. See, this is that dynamic brake thing. You notice it's the same part, but that does nothing. That is not a bug.
Yeah, so don't bug it, please.
What's the intention behind that? Is it just in case, like, for instance, in real life,
It's cost savings. It means they only have to manufacture a ton of one thing. So it makes it a lot easier than trying to maintain different things. They've got standard systems for interfacing into them. And if it breaks, they just go into the stores and they don't have to worry about if they've got the right kind of handle. Throw all the brakes on.
So if anybody has seen my signal video yet for Boston, I did a brief mention of something called Rule 562 territory. Now, Boston doesn't have much of it outside of the Stoughton line, but this route is filled with 562 territory. You'll notice that for maybe a couple miles now, since we left Ham interlocking. Oh, geez, Northeast Regional's gone by my house. I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway,
We did.
Yeah. So, what was I saying? So for a couple miles now, we haven't seen any physical signals at the wayside. We've just had track circuits, impedance bonds in the rails. That is a sign that we're in Rule 562 territory, which is cab signals used without fixed wayside signals. So that was one of the big challenges with scripting the signals for Trenton, is because you have a weird mix of Rule 562 versus the traditional wayside signal rule territory. It's mixed up all the time. So just be aware of that. A lot of the times, you'll just be following cab signals.
Just do what it says in your ADU and your SDU. It'll keep you good. But just remember, it's not going to hold your hand. You need to learn your speeds or have them on the HUD.
Yes.
Because the overspeeds are really quite limited. It's like 3 miles per hour above is your the limit to 3 miles an hour above it. You just get told off. Oh no, that's for free. And then 3 miles an hour to 6 miles an hour, it's you get 8 seconds to come back in the limit again. And beyond 6 miles an hour is an instant penalty. Or a train stop break, isn't it, actually? Or is it a penalty? Can't remember which way around it is.
It's a full service penalty break application, yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you're doing 100 miles an hour, that 6 seconds goes nowhere. Or that 6 miles per hour goes nowhere on the curve. So you need to be braking ahead of the curve. Like I said, the curve is there just to check you.
Yeah. So what Matt means is, like, in an area where he's allowed to go 100 miles per hour in this train, he can realistically go 103 without the safety systems yelling at him. But the moment he hits 104, he has 8 seconds to bring the train speed back down to 103 or lower.
Yep.
If he does not, then he faces a penalty brake, for which he has to put the brakes into suppression and acknowledge in order to regain control of the train. But if he goes over 106, so let's say he goes to 107, he gets an immediate non-suppressible full-service brake application from ACES that he cannot do anything to regain control of the train until he's at or below 103 again. So that's how the system works. Were you going to say something, JD?
I can't remember who it was in the chat. Someone was asking about the length of the route. 58 miles, 94 kilometres is the length of this route.
Yeah, exactly.
And if anybody is on the lookout for Brandon's signal video, I believe it's posted in the forums, in the Getting Started forum now. But we will also be embedding it in the launch article for the content tomorrow too. So hopefully everyone will get an opportunity to watch it before you kind of, or whilst you're getting to grips with the new signalling in the Boston route.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, my signaling guide for Boston also pretty much entirely applies to Trenton as well. Like the signal it's all NORAC, so the signal aspects mean the same thing, and ATC and Access are still the same systems used down here. So almost all of the knowledge translates.
So one of the other interesting things, I think, is it just the NJT equipment that does it, is that the alerter has a variable timeout based on how fast you're going. So if the faster you go, the more often you will be asked to respond to the alerter. I think it's down to something like 20 seconds or something, is it, when you're at 100 miles an hour? And much less frequent if you're going slowly. So that's something to bear in mind, is as you speed up, you will find the alerter going off more often, though you're not imagining it.
Yeah, it is more frequent at higher speeds, and for obvious reasons. When you're going faster, you're covering more ground more quickly. So if you have the alerter going off every 60 seconds at 60 miles an hour, you're going to cover a mile in that time. Whereas if you're going 30 miles an hour, you're going to cover half a mile. So having it go off more frequently at higher speeds makes a lot of sense in order to avoid a potential catastrophe if there's an incapacitation of the engineer.
Nigel said hopes the save game will work with the route. I don't see why it wouldn't do.
Yep.
I've just put a link in the chat as well for anybody who wants to watch Brandon's video, maybe after you finish watching us tonight, or you save it for tomorrow.
Yeah, there's plenty of time. It's not going anywhere. And like I said, I'll be doing some live streaming both of this route and Boston all week. I told you guys I took this week off of work because this whole release that Dovetail is doing is really, really special to me. They've accommodated me a lot, so I just really want to thank them. So,
well, thank you.
To give back to you guys and them. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna play it a lot and teach people.
Good. That's what we love to hear. I mean, Kareem Abdul's asked a good question, actually, which is kind of semi-related, I guess, is how do we get the information about this route? Obviously, we've talked quite a lot to Brandon. We've mentioned a couple of other people who have helped us out with some of the source material. But whereabouts do we get the information for, if not specifically Trenton, then some of the other routes that we put together, Matt?
All sorts of different places. You'll be amazed at what can be found on the internet in various places, and sometimes combining multiple sources together to sort of give you a more full picture. Sometimes it's down to cab ride videos and spotting the detail of signals and so forth, or speed limit changes from a cab ride video. You get a lot from Google Earth. If you're able to get hold of tech specs, technical drawings of the track, all the better. But you can't always get that stuff. And it really is just talking to people. Sometimes, talk to someone like Brandon's a big fan of it and has done a lot of his own research on it. Actually, might well have a lot of the answers you need for a particular project. So it's no 1, 2, or even 10 things. It's a big combination of all sorts of things, because you can't rely on any of them necessarily being available on the next project you do. So the team have got used to just really looking everywhere for as much information as they can.
That's a good shot. I like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of reference, like official documentation that we get access to through the beta team as well. So we're able to get access to certain documents that most people wouldn't normally have access to, which is great for us. We're using it for legitimate purposes to make the simulator as realistic as possible. So when we had some amazing signal charts for this route. Oh my god, I beg to have them for Boston. Like, they were that good. And stuff like that really just is used to flesh out the authenticity and improve the realism so you guys get the most authentic experience possible. And that's the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. So we've got a 16-mile run to New Brunswick. As we said, this is probably the quicker end of the run.
Yeah, this area is what is it known as? I always mix up the terms. Is it racetrack or raceway? I think it's the racetrack.
Well, it depends. Chicago's got a racetrack, hasn't it? I don't know if they use the same term here.
I don't know why I always forget it. I'm sure somebody in the comments will correct me or clarify things. I know they will, actually.
This is the race up to New Brunswick. Going to Metropark, which is there or something. I love all the variety in the gantries. It makes it look so much more interesting. It's a thing you observe rather than just being gantries.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the newer stuff supplemented with the older stuff, and I have been corrected. It is Raceway. I always screw that up, guys. I'm sorry. Just like the braking stuff.
It's my Peak Valley and Peak Forest, so...
Oh, yes. And Matt's Stoughton and Stoughton and Acela and Acela.
We've all got it. We've all got it.
I maintain that the entire nation is wrong and I'm right.
It's so funny.
Crazy asked, the Acela can go full speed here, I assume.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll get clear 150 in the cab. Not on these tracks. On the inner tracks, 2 and 3. On the outer tracks, 1 and 4, you'll max out at clear 125.
Triple J's asked, does the newer ACS 64 from Trenton substitute into Boston like the Amtrak 50th Livery one subs into Trenton?
I don't think it does, but we upgraded the old one to match it. So they're both they should be both the same. It's got all of the audio upgrades that were put in for the safety systems and so forth. It's got some of the improvements to the cab signalling that were done as part of what Brandon did as well. So there's no need for the Trenton one to substitute in. We upgraded the old one as well.
I mean, that's probably the better way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, just use the one appropriate for the route.
You don't really want to mix and match unless you really want to, just because you'll have 2 trains that look identical and just use up twice as much memory for no good reason.
There's been quite a lot of questions in the chat about, are you developing this? Is this thing coming? Can we have dates for X, Y, Z things? We get them in every live stream, and we appreciate everybody is excited for all the different things and have their own ideas about what we want to make. If you haven't already, make sure you check out our roadmap articles that we put out monthly. We do a live stream to accompany them as well, just to try and provide a little bit more context about what it is that we're working on. We don't put dates we don't reveal dates within our roadmap. We'll do that separately, but it's a good indicator of where we're at with development on various different things that either you might have seen or you might not have seen. So yeah, that will be my first port of call if you've got a question around when is X coming or are you developing Y.
So I'm seeing a question in here from Lord Tacitus. Will the Acela timetable for Trenton to New York Penn be a straight express service, or will it have any stops in between? So pretty much, I think every Acela stops at least at Newark Penn before terminating, or not terminating, but going or proceeding to New York Penn. So you'll at least have that intermediate stop. Some of them, do Acela stop at Metropark? I know we
some of them
talked about this
yeah.
earlier.
Some of them do. On the layering,
Princeton, though.
On the layering for this route, they'll stop at Metropark. So some of them will.
Yeah. So while we took the creative liberty to make every Acela stop at Trenton, just because that's the terminus of the route, it's not that way in reality, obviously. But you will have those intermediate stops at either Metropark in a couple of cases and Newark Penn. But otherwise, it is express all the way to Penn Station.
Can we get a bell, please, Matt? There you go, MNRRP Gaming. That one's for you. Anthony's Trains asks, is the 50th anniversary ACS 64 going to be compatible with New York Trenton?
Yes.
I didn't know if we knew the answer to that one, so I'm glad that you did, Matt.
No, we upgraded the old trains to work with the new route.
Did we look at the scenarios for this route when we were in the
We
initial
did
menu?
not. We did not. We'll have a quick ping through the journey and the scenarios at the end of this then. We were too excited to get in. Let's all be honest with ourselves.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And we all knew this stream was going to go well over 2 hours.
We tried to be quite strict on time, and I think that went out the window after about 5 minutes.
The minute I got involved, oh, hello.
It's fine. It's a good showcase for the community.
I was doing a service the other day, and in the NJT cab car heading north on these tracks, and I'm running along, and this ACS 64 goes past me like I'm standing still. It was brilliant. It was the highlight of the whole run.
There's an Acela, by the way. Yep. Again, stream delay. Probably already noticed. It's too bad I can't see his screen in real time.
Next time we do this, we'll organise that. We had so much trouble getting audio working that, to be honest, we thought let's not chance our arm and try and get video working.
That's another thing. We didn't have any audio issues today. Once
Oh,
the
you
stream
said
started.
it. You said it.
Yeah,
No, Brandon.
No, pat yourselves on the back. I didn't. You guys don't believe in that stuff.
Yeah, firmly.
I mean, we did spend about an hour earlier trying to work out how to get everything worked how we wanted it to with the remote calls and everything like that. Glad so far that it's working, but I'm touching wood. You can hear me tapping the desk as I'm going through now. But yeah, it's good. It's good so far that we haven't had any problems on that front.
Yeah, that testing earlier was so funny.
Triple J's asked, related to the Boston ACS 64, got updated to the same standard as the Trenton one. The Boston one doesn't have the radial wheel blur. Does the one that's coming with Trenton have that wheel blur?
will be on the Amfleets. I think when I last checked it, the Amfleets still have the blur, and I have raised that to get fixed. We'll check the ACS when we're on the Metroliner. Because the Amfleets should not have the blur, but they do.
So yeah, notice that you guys haven't seen a wayside signal for many, many miles. All goes back to that Rule 562 that I talked about. Cab signals without fixed wayside signals. So in this territory, just look at your cab signals. That's the ADU in the center part of the screen to the left of the speed display unit. That'll tell you how to govern movement of the train. I think we're almost at county interlocking. That was Delco right there, I believe. So county will be pretty much the end of our Clear 150 territory before we reach New Brunswick.
Breaking a bit of
This
answer
should be
time.
Jersey Avenue station. Yep. So
I did
this
also
is
check
county
actually
interlocking.
over the weekend. Jersey Avenue is a low platform, and when the multi-level cars stop at Jersey Avenue, they open the trapdoors correctly.
That was going to be one of my questions, Matt. So I'm glad you've got ahead of it.
All the normal platforms on this line are high platforms, so it's you don't see it. But Jersey Avenue, if you find one of the trains that spawns on Jersey Avenue, when it opens its doors, yeah, the trapdoors will open.
Planes, Trains and Games asked, does this route have all the new TSW3 weather implemented? Yes, it does. For the purposes of this live stream, though, we obviously want you to be able to see the route in good light, and we don't want it to kind of rain or be too dark for you to be able to see everything that you might want to see with a preview stream. But yes, it will contain all of the weather if you set dynamic weather.
New Brunswick. I still think this. It always kind of upsets me that it's a red station.
Why?
Brunswick being green.
Oh.
But, for
I
no
don't
good
know.
reason. Brunswick green is, BR trains were Brunswick green.
Maybe they've done it in direct opposition to...
To me personally.
To
It's,
you,
it's
yeah.
a personal affront, yes. But there they have independent thought.
Someone asked earlier about collectibles. We've not talked about collectibles yet with this route. We'll obviously have the...
Hey, look at that. We've got Catan poster.
I did not see that before. That's quite fun.
Your captain needs you.
That's our production person. You might have seen in a couple of our live streams before, Ben.
That's Ben.
That's Ben?
Yeah, that's Ben. Not the Ben that
Oh,
you're
really?
speaking.
Okay.
Not the Ben that you speak
No,
to.
oh, not the Ben I'm thinking of. Not the
No,
signal
no.
guy. Okay.
No, not Signal Guy. Although they don't look that much different, to be fair. Right, so this is, you got your route map collectibles. You've got... I actually can't remember what all the different collectibles are. One of them is trash on the ground, I think, where you can pick up the trash, as we all aspire to do. No, I can't remember what the other collectibles are. I've stepped on the posters and the trash enough times to pick them up, but...
I know it pains every fibre of your being not to get the collectibles as well when you see them.
I think I'm being very well behaved.
He's got time. He can literally run out and grab them.
Brandon said I could, so...
You got time. Do it. Nice stop, by the way.
Thank you.
So Schnauzer Powers. I always get your name wrong. Is there sound occlusion with the windows? We might want to try that when we are next in the cab.
There should be. If it's anything like opening
Not
the
that
windows
one.
in the Acela, it should be immediately noticeable.
I think the bins that you pick up the trash on are a different shape. They're a different type of bin. I can't go in there.
Oh my god.
There's quite a lot of
Go down the
explorable
street.
areas then, by the looks of things.
Well, this is how you cross tracks.
Yeah,
oh, there it
but-
is over there.
No, that's awesome.
Oh, okay.
There we go. This is the one that you pick up recycling on. There you go. We found 2.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there's
Trash
another
cans
one
tight.
here. Don't know what the 3rd and 4th are. I'm just going to bang my head into everything.
I'm sure the community will find them soon enough.
We'll leave them as a surprise.
Yeah. They're always so quick to put up guides with every one of them.
All I'm going to say, Matt, is
Won't let me down that one.
so you might want to get back into your into your track.
Whee! No, I didn't do that. Everyone, don't look.
Your conductor's yelling at you. NJ Rail 3856, okay to proceed east on signal indication, over.
Welcome back to your train engineer, finally. Right. Next station is Edison.
I assume named after
Yeah, once
Thomas.
you get up to speed, open up the window to check that occlusion. What was that, JD?
64.
There we go.
I assume Edison's named after Thomas.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good point.
Fun fact for the forum, for the chat to confirm or refute.
Yeah, please let me know. Love this kind of stuff.
Don't know the history of the town.
Z Gamer says it is.
Cool.
Yep, volume went up and down.
There you go.
You can open the front door as well. Should you be so inclined.
So what we're passing by right now, well, not right now, maybe like 5 seconds when you guys saw it. Defect detector. So you saw those little things in the track gauge. What those are dragging equipment detectors. And usually also at these locations, they check for hot axles on the train. So there's like scanners that will scan the train as it goes over. And if there are defects, it will present them to the engineer in an audible fashion over the radio. And if there are defects found, you bring the train to a safe stop and you call it into the dispatcher.
Just to be clear, that's how it works in reality. In the game, they're not implemented.
They're right. So if that's something you guys wanted to simulate on your own, now you know. I was going to mention that for Boston as well, because there is one. But we were doing other conversation.
This is Edison.
Edison.
It's a real light bulb moment stopping here.
Matt, we've been going too long for me to find that funny now.
We're getting pretty close to Metro Park. We're
Yes.
only 5 miles away from Metro Park. Actually, not even 4.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to Metro Park, and then we're going to check out the scenarios on the main screen, and then we're going to do the Union Pacific Heritage.
We're going to look at the Metroliner.
Yes, sorry, we are going to do the Metroliner.
We're just going to do a few moments with the Metroliner.
Yeah, I think that was mostly to show the night ambiance.
Yep.
Yeah.
How long were you sitting on that light bulb joke, by the way, Matt?
The entire time since Edison turned up. The entire time since it said Edison, I'm like, I know what I'm going to say. And I was just waiting for Brandon to spoil it.
I ain't gonna spoil that. I don't do dad jokes.
Yet. We all come to a phase in our lives where dad jokes are our only source of entertainment. Or at least our top source of entertainment.
I don't see it. I'm 30, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, SimWorld Life. The stream is a long one, but it's good, right?
We got a lot to show. I mean, 2 routes updated, 1 route released, 1 loco pack, and 1 loco bundle. That's 5 things to show. It says that, the most content launched at the same time, essentially. And
be a 3-hour stream.
We were sitting there thinking, well, what do we do? What do we not show? And if we don't show something, what might it mean that we haven't showed it? And it's just like, okay, well, let's just do a bit of everything. We want to make sure we show the NGT stock. It's the brand new stuff. Everyone wants to see the entirety of the route. That's no quick thing. The Acela will need a good run, being the hero that it is. And if you then leave out the Amfleet, it's at that point you've kind of done 90%. You might as well do all of it.
Yeah, and I think what we were keen to do is make sure as I say, we gave as much of a cross section as we possibly could of everything in as many different types of scenario as we could do. And I think what we planned is so this service is probably about 45 minutes, so we'll plonk that in as our running time. And then obviously as the stream
never works.
No, the stream progresses, Matt emergency brakes, or
it's my fault.
We explore stations, or we try and explain things, and obviously then it gets a little bit later. But hopefully everyone's bearing with us, and looking forward to seeing sort of what we've got in store for the rest of the stream.
We're only going to be running a tiny bit on the Heritage Collection, which basically want to show you the liveries. Yeah. And we're doing a brief bit on the Amfleet. So kind of like this is the last major bit of the stream. So hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, and Derek asked, are there any interesting features that come with the route? I feel like maybe I want to rephrase that question slightly, because I think we talked about quite a lot of stuff already, things like the overhead lines and the gantries. Obviously, the locos themselves are either updated or new. And we've shown a few of the little individual features as part of any of those locos. But is there anything else that we've not talked about yet, Matt, that you wanted to touch on?
I can't think of anything that we haven't already mentioned, to be honest.
Obviously, there's
a couple scenery-related items. We just passed one, the Trekside Oilers. So there are these little devices that have solar panels on them that, at certain intervals, inject lubricant onto the rails at predetermined points to give a little bit of lubrication to the track and to the wheels of the trains. And I noticed that was added at certain points into this route, which is a nice touch.
That is cool. Obviously, all of the stations that we haven't had the chance to explore yet, there will be little bits and pieces. Matt, is there a donkey on this route?
I would hope so, but I must admit I didn't check the spreadsheet to find out what the donkey's name was, so I'm not going to confirm that fully, but make a note of it for me to confirm at another point in time.
I will be incredibly disappointed if there isn't one.
Oh, me too. The team love putting the donkey in.
So over the next few days, as well as Brandon obviously live streaming the route, we've got a load of other creators and ambassadors that are going to be live streaming the content pretty much every day from Tuesday till Friday. I believe it's Train Simulator Driver kicking off tomorrow. He'll be able to confirm in the chat, actually. But we'll have a different streamer or a different featured creator playing the game every evening until Friday, so you can get a real feel for the routes and find out from people who aren't just us what they think about it and their own kind of experiences with it.
Yeah, Paul does a great job. So his content's always very, very good. And there's a bunch of other ambassadors, too, that should be putting content on.
Yeah, I know Blue is one of them. In fact, you know what? I can find it. I can find the schedule. Bear with me one
Blue
second.
Games and Paul, Train Simulator Driver.
Right, coming into Metushin.
Metuchen.
Oh,
What, really?
Yeah, I found that one out last week.
yeah. So tomorrow, when we launch, Train Simulator Driver will be playing. So that's at 10 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Then Wednesday we have British Ace playing it at 4 p.m. These are all UK times, by the way. Thursday 23rd we've got Top Funny Moments at 5 p.m. That stream will likely be in Spanish. And Friday the 24th is Blue Games at 4 p.m. UK time. So that's quite exciting. If you've got one of your favourites on there, give them a watch, give them some support. And if you don't follow them already, they do some really good content. So big shout out to them.
Good stuff. Is that just Trenton, or is that also Boston stuff as well?
That's the whole cross section. So different creators will be doing different bits and pieces. There'll be more details in the article that goes live tomorrow with the release. I think
Great.
Blue's doing a little bit of everything. I think everybody else is focusing either on Trenton or on the Acela on Boston.
Awesome. Metropark, 2.5 miles.
Yeah. So we're at Lincoln interlocking right now. We just have one more to go, and then we hit Metro Park.
Brandon, you missed the opportunity to do your conductor bit again.
I was considering it, but considering the stream delay, I don't know whether he's moving or not.
I am moving.
So I know you are now. So there's one of those trackside Oilers that I was talking about before. See how it's positioned right next to a curve? So it reduces the flange friction on the rail as the train navigates the curve by lubricating the track and the wheels.
As I say, under normal circumstances, you'd have to say making the track slickier on purpose feels like a questionable
corner
approach.
as well.
But it's probably without it. It's probably really quite loud in this area otherwise.
No, I don't even know if it's about noise. It's just to reduce the wear on the flange of the wheel, like that little part that sticks down. Yeah. I'm sure it reduces noise as a result, but no, I don't think it creates wheel slip.
No, I'm sure it doesn't, but it's just that if you were to describe the system as it puts oil on the track,
Right.
You can see how someone could misunderstand that and go,
yeah.
wait, what? Really? Are you sure?
It did sound a little bit bizarre when it was first described, but I get it now. I get it.
No, I can see. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, I can see how you would misinterpret it that way.
Yeah, Raptor has asked how fast is the Alp 46?
It's 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier. There is a variant which is 125.
The Alp 46A, which is not in the pack, can do 125.
And And French Simflight even has asked, I have another question about the Alp 46. Is the diesel mode functional or not?
The Alp 46 does not have a diesel mode function. You're thinking of the Alp 45 DP, which is the dual power version, and looks quite different. This is purely an electric loco.
The prof is back. Yeah, Triple J, we're going to show the training modules and the scenarios. Should we do the next run, and then we'll do the scenarios and the training modules after that?
Sure.
Yep. Cool. So we're just stopping up at Metropark. And then we'll move on to the next segment of the live stream.
Yeah. So SimWorld Life is asking, how does it work if the NJT train is longer than the platform in reality? Where do they end up stopping? So they're going to definitely pull the locomotive off the platform. That's for sure. To get the most amount of cars onto the platform. They might even pull the first car right behind the locomotive off the platform as well, and keep that door closed in order to open the rear door of that first car and then get as many other doors of the other cars onto the platform.
So when if this coach wasn't on there, you'd be in here, you'd key in, and then you see where the arrow is, and you'd say open high, and it would open the doors from here on to the end of the train in that direction, not the ones behind me. So the guard would be sitting in this. The conductor would be sitting in here, be like, okay, we're all on. All right, I'll open the doors, bang, and then off you go. Whereas those ones would then stay closed.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on this territory, so their operating procedures might be different than what I described, but that's what makes the most sense to me and from what I've seen in most operating practices.
Rightio then. Shall we move on to the Amfleet Metroliner?
Yep. What was the service for that one?
652 in winter from Trenton to Princeton.
Well, you guys load that up. I'm just going to step out to use the restroom really quick.
It's been quite a long stream. You are absolutely excused, Brandon.
That'll be from Harrisburg, I'm guessing, which is a Trenton starting service. We'll put it in custom weather. We'll need to go winter to really get the full-on dark on that. We'll put a bit of cloud on for it.
So someone has asked a question which actually I think I knew the answer to, but I have just double-checked. So Raptor asked, how many degrees does the Acela tilt? I thought it was 7 degrees. Apparently it's 6.5 degrees. So I have learnt something.
Right, and let's. So this one you don't key in, you just bring this back from O to F, and now the cab is active. So I'm going to get the doors open, activate safety systems, gauge lights on, but all stuff. So this is your alerter light all the way up here. The red light here indicates that the alerter is active. We've got all of our other stuff going on here. This is your ADU for access and ATC, same as you saw it on the ACS 64. This is great, isn't it?
Sorry, ignore my superiority a second beforehand. I've just taken a look, and apparently they were built for 6.8 degrees, but in fact it's actually 4.2. So I stand corrected, and my small sense of superiority is already diminished.
I just came back. What is this about your small sense of superiority?
To do with
tilt
the tilt of the Acela.
Oh, okay.
So manual switches for your safety systems are down here. In the daytime you can see it more clearly, but it's these top switches on the left-hand side that you'll use for that. Normally, even in daylight, you can see it and use it quite clearly from sat down, but at night it's a little harder. I'm going to leave the cab light on so that we can see what we're doing. But this gives you at least an idea. I mean, it is basically an Amfleet coach with a cab in it, so the outside isn't too surprising.
No, Chief Longshan. This is just a demonstration to Princeton Junction. Mostly to show off not only the locomotive or the cab car, but the nighttime lighting as well.
Yeah, we know we get a lot of requests to show that for certain live streams, so we do try and make sure that we're showing as much as we can.
So back to self-lapping brakes now.
What I'm used to.
Brake mode needs to be in lead. That's it. So you got to, let me just use the torch again. So there's a switch on the top here, which needs to be set to passenger or lead, in this case as the tooltip says, to activate your brakes. Then we can just give it power.
And away we go.
It's really, you feel really blind when you're driving with this thing because you don't have the TE meter, the tractive effort meter, to tell you that what the motor's doing. You are just literally waiting to feel for the reaction. Oops.
A little bit too hot on the accelerator than that.
That's okay. Medium clear and fair.
Dang it.
This is what I mean about having a 45-minute long stretch, and then obviously we need to account for occasions like this.
I picked up quick.
You did. Yes, light to go out now. Darn it!
Whilst we're stationary, should we do a little horn combo?
Yeah.
I'm liking that horn. Wow. Over here, you have also got the ability to turn on the strobe lights.
Yeah, I think they were set to automatic.
Yep. Got headlights, MCB. That's it. Let's release PCS, pneumatic control switch. Basically there to lock out the brakes when you've been a naughty driver.
Hmm.
Think you've got to sit there and think about what you've done for a little while.
Get the cone of shame out. Well, we've got the bell already. Shame, shame.
Yep. Put the strobe lights on as well. Flashing ditch lights on. Everyone driving past will go, yeah, that's what Matt's running.
Darth Vader's asked, what are the strobe lights used for? They're kind of like hazard lights.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Kinda. So when you sound the horn or the bell, if they're set to the automatic position, they should alternate back and forth. So it kind of is like a visual warning to what you're trying to convey, in addition to the audible warning you're trying to convey either via the horn or the bell. So we just left fair interlocking, and we're coming up on Ham, which is going to be the start of the 562 territory, so no wayside signals past Ham for a while. Actually, not at all for this demonstration, except for CP Clark.
This will be a faster run. On center tracks.
It will be. Yeah, you're on track. I believe this is 2.
Oh, someone has christened this service the Metroliner, and I quite like that.
The Metroliner. That's fantastic.
Oh,
I want to
God.
livery
Don't let us
designer
go
it into
guys.
pink, and then it will be the Metroliner service.
Well done, SimWorld Life. You've created a monster.
Oh, God.
I expect to see it uploaded to Creators Club soon, folks.
The chat's had
beside
the
myself
exact
right now.
reaction that you would expect it to have had.
These things give you a really cramped view. It's really... You think about the
They
view you
do.
get from an ACS 64, and then you've got this view going the other way. You gotta kind of hate going in one direction when you're an ACS 64 engineer, I guess.
This accelerates so fast. It's ungodly.
We've got to speed very quickly.
I mean, you're only
They're
running
powerful.
5 cars, right?
Yeah, it's only a short train. And the ACS 64 is a powerful, powerful train.
It really is.
It's another one that's based on a European prototype. It's this. The Amtrak Cities Sprinter is based on the Eurosprinters, along the lines of like the BR-182 and trains like that.
Right. Yeah, sorry, I messed up before. This is track 1, not track 2.
Yeah, we're on track 1.
Matt said inner tracks, and I immediately thought track 2. Well, this should be Hamilton Station we're passing now. So French Simulate is asking, sorry, what is an interlocking? An interlocking, I know I've been throwing that term around a lot, is typically defined as an area where a train can switch tracks. So you'll have signals at each end, and then you'll have switches in between. And the switches and the signals can't be aligned in such a way to permit the conflicting movement of trains, meaning you can't have everything aligned so that you'll have 2 trains smash into each other. Hopefully that makes sense.
.6. That extra 10 miles an hour and not stopping every 5 minutes really helps.
It sure does.
Not the little one going in the other direction there.
Nope, there goes an Acela by my house again. I don't know if you heard it.
Yep, we had it.
Yep, that's awesome. Glad it picked it up. It was going the full 150 miles an hour. Davisville, Rhode Island. At this point, it's probably 13 minutes from Providence.
I would love it if somebody were watching or listening to this preview whilst on that Acela. That would be incredible. If you are on an Acela right now watching this, please let us know and we'll give you a shout out.
I've had it happen before where I'm at home and my friend is like, oh, I'm on this train, I'm riding on this, and watch out for me or whatever, or I'll have the engineer blow the horn for you or something. I get horn shows constantly at my house because I'm just friends with so many people that are in the rail industry, and it's crazy. It's all the time. I love it.
Your neighbours, however.
Not the biggest fans.
It comes with the territory.
Acela 2000 says they are on the Acela to DC. So Acela 2000 on an Acela, not quite watching an Acela. That would have been an hour and a half ago, but not too far off.
That's awesome. The worst part of living next to the tracks is when they're doing very intrusive maintenance on the tracks, like using these jackhammers to agitate the rocks, the ballast, spot surfacing. Yeah, that's noisy, especially when they bring the tamper by to dig up the rocks and resettle them and everything. That vibrates the house like crazy, and they'll do it at like 2 in the morning.
I can imagine that being quite frustrating.
My neighbor complained a couple years ago when it happened. Not that Amtrak cares, but
MNRP Gaming is on an Acela to NYPS, New York Penn. So about as relevant as I think as it gets for this particular live stream.
Yeah.
they're asking how I sleep. On those nights, sometimes I do wake up early. It only happens a couple times a year.
So Matt, are you happy with the night lighting on the Trenton route?
I mean, I have actually got a task in for the team to review some aspects of the night lighting because it's not where it needs to be. But there has been passes on it on the night lighting. The stations are generally well lit, but some of the surrounding area isn't well lit up enough for me. So there is already a task on the team to look at that again.
Okay.
I don't know when that will
Headlights
got
are
to.
so much better
but
than they used to be. I don't know how you feel about the headlights.
I like a bright headlight, definitely.
Yeah,
They've
like
always
look,
been a bit-
you're illuminating that catenary gantry and even the next one in front of you, which is kind of how it should be, you know? Like it looks pretty authentic. Yeah, night lighting's come a long way. I know it used to be a sore spot in the past, but it's come a long way, especially with Todd 4.
Absolutely. Alrighty, well that's the very brief nightlight featuring night run, even featuring the Amfleet coaches. Let's have a quick look at the scenarios and the training modules.
So scenarios: havoc across the Hudson in the Up 46, sunny side up in the ACS 64, winter in the city with both of them, cab to the race. This one's quite fun actually. There's two different endings to it depending on whether you make it on time or not. With some little animations, it's quite good. So you got that one, and then NYE and NYC is basically out and back between New York Airport and New York Penn. Newark Airport and New York Penn repeatedly, several times. So you're changing ends, get to the other end, go back into New York, change ends, go back out to Newark. And it's quite fun, actually, with all the change ends that are going on that one. So you got 5 scenarios, so that one's cab car and the ACS 64 on there. So all the trains get a good exercise.
Training modules?
Training modules. So Journeys is the other one.
Oh,
so
yeah,
Trenton has Conquering the Corridor as its journey, so it covers all of the different things going on the route there. Then you've got Training Centre. So on the Training Centre, you've got obviously the Amfleet Cab Car, the ACS, the Acela, Alp 46, and the NGT Cab Car. So all the cabs have got their own tutorials, as you'd expect. And then in addition to that, there is the if I pick the Alp 46, you get the ACE's introduction is on that one. And if I go for the ACS 64, you get the ATC and Access introduction. You got 2 ACS 64 tutorials, one for Boston, and that tutorial is on the Boston route. This one is on the training center, so the new one is the one on the training center. But then you got the ATC and Access introduction on to go with that. So there's 7 tutorials across the board there. Plus, obviously, the Acela's got its own tutorial as well.
Lots of stuff to get stuck into then.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so just while we get set up for the final part of this live stream, which is going to be the Union Pacific Heritage Collection, we're going to do a short section on that. We're going to swap to another video just so Matt can get himself set up, and we'll be back with you in a second. We're just going to show you some of Trenton in a little bit more of a pre-recorded format. Back in a sec. And we're back in the room. Welcome back, everybody. And obviously, by February, coming in February, we mean coming tomorrow. A matter of probably about, at this point, 12 hours. So, not an awful lot of sleep coming for me and Matt tonight. All right, Matt, tell us a little bit about the Union Pacific Heritage Collection.
So, the ST70 ACE that features in Sherman Hill, Union Pacific painted 6 of them in predecessor liveries. So Union Pacific has grown out of a number of mergers and changes and so forth throughout history, and the predecessor collection, the livery collection, are some of the liveries and companies that made up the Union Pacific we know today. So let me just get in here so I can fly around in the camera a bit. I'll worry about doing what it says in a minute. So this is 3 of the 6. This is the Western Pacific, which is the first one. Then you've got the Missouri, which is this one, the Missouri Pacific, I think it is. And then this one is a Southern Pacific.
They're great looking trains.
They're tremendous. That's the thing that I like about it, and one of the reasons we were keen to do it, is it adds a bit of colour and variety to what is otherwise a route filled of armour yellow. And these 6 trains, and we're going to go and see the other 6 in a minute. The other 3 in a minute. Let's release the brake.
Those liveries are sharp.
Yeah.
Like, those look good. And they're properly weathered, too, right?
Yeah, these are meant to be representative of a... but you can see they're not just textures. These are cut into the model so that you get them nice and sharp. And
I think I saw some nice weathering in the blue one, yeah. Maybe I was mistaken. But in any case, they're... Yeah, right down there. In any case, they're clean. That looks good.
Right, so we drive forward, and this will also take us to an area where Adam's team did a little polish up actually on Sherman Hill, because what they wanted to do was to improve the museum area around the turntable.
Yeah, and this is one of the 6 scenarios that comes with.
Yeah, this one's called Circle of Celebration.
And each of the scenarios kind of headlines one of the liveries, or more than one of the liveries, right? So
yeah.
Each one is kind of covered at a different point during the...
Throughout the pack, you'll be using all of the trains, yeah. Sometimes 1, sometimes 2. Yeah, your normal ST70 Ace is the yellow ones over here. And then you've got these special liveries here. I'm just going to go over here and stop, and then we'll fly the camera over and look at the other ones.
Yeah, we're doing this a little bit of a hacky way, aren't we? We're not quite going through the full thing. Obviously, we want everybody to be able to experience it themselves when it goes live, but we wanted to show all of the liveries, and we wanted to show kind of an ensemble cast, let's say, of all of the main characters.
So the trains themselves run the same, perform the same. These are texture changes. There's, rather than sit here and take up your time showing you stuff you've seen before, we just want to focus on the bit that's different and new. It's got a selection of the armour yellow trains sitting here. This is the back of the roundhouse over here. And you can start seeing some of the trains sitting over on the left-hand side. But you'll notice that as we get around to the roundhouse, there's more clutter. And some of the coach buildings are there.
As you can see as well, Sherman's had the treatment with the skies and the lighting too. I think it looks... I think I did a couple of the preview streams for Sherman, and it obviously looked good, but I think the new lighting, particularly on these kind of desert routes, the kind of the more sparse routes, it looks really great.
One of the other things that's really nice is if you're doing a run from end to end on this route, you're going to cover a good chunk of time. Pick a good time of day to do it, cross dawn or cross dusk, and the route just changes in colour and vibrancy throughout the entire journey, then it's really something quite tremendous. That's certainly what I've found myself doing, is start at sort of early dusk, and by the time you get to the other end it's dark, but you've gone through the whole sky changing colour and all sorts of things. Really nice. So this is all this new stuff that's been added just to populate the area up. Just going to park the train up there. And then you get my favourite of the 6 liveries, which is the Katy, the Missouri, Kansas, Texas, MKT, hence the Katy, which looks like a certain fizzy drink vendor as far as I'm concerned.
I wonder which one you could mean.
Looks like a candy bar.
So, but no, I love that livery. I think that's absolutely fabulous. But then you've got the Rio Grande here as well. And then another one I rather like, which is the Chicago Northwestern, CNNW.
Yeah, they all look really good. Vibrant colors, nice and sharp. Very cool.
Yeah, so it's 6. They're set up to spawn randomly with very low probability into service mode. You can use them any way you like on service mode, but they will, as say AI, spawn very randomly. So you might occasionally see one coming on the train in the other direction, or might occasionally see one in a yard, which is about sort of how you should be seeing them. But don't complain if you don't see them, because that's just because it's set to be very rare. There is only 6 of them. Yeah, so that's what's been set up there. So like I said, you can use it in service mode. It's got the scenarios. I'll give you a quick look through over the scenarios.
As you can see, there are a few improvements to the turntable as well. Some of the scenery improvements. I think the random containers, we've changed the colouring or the colour spectrum that's used for the containers to be more kind of befitting of reality too.
So we've got Hot Shot, which uses 2. You've got Colourful Climb, which has 4 of them in it. Dust or Bust, got a couple. Heritage Help Out, Circle of Celebration, and The Gathering. So I think some of the scenarios stand on their own. Some of them form a little bit of a sequence when the idea is this. I think Circle of Celebration is the culmination of rounding all of these locomotives around on the roundhouse there, on the turntable. So that's it.
And the UP Heritage content doesn't feature on any other routes at the moment. It's just in Sherman Hill. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, brilliant. Okay, let's go back to full cam, shall we? There we go. Here are our faces. We are still here. And Brandon obviously is still here as well on the audio side of things. You still there, Brandon?
Yes. In the comfort of my own home, yes.
Wonderful. Great. We are not in the comfort of our own home. And those who know me will know me. It's getting way past my bedtime. So I think hopefully we had a lot to show tonight, and I hope everybody has got a pretty good indication of what is coming tomorrow with the release. Obviously, we mentioned a couple of bits and pieces that we've noticed in the stream tonight, and obviously we'll take those back and we'll look to put out a post-release patch. I believe it's either late this week or start on next week, probably start on next week at this stage. So we'll look to try and make sure that is included. But yes, we have the Acela, which runs on Boston and Trenton. That is obviously coming tomorrow. We have the Northeast Corridor, Northeast Corridor, New York to Trenton route, which is obviously coming tomorrow as well. And the UP Heritage Collection as well, which is, they're all coming tomorrow. They're all coming on Tuesday, the 21st of February. Console players, you can expect to get those first, probably mid to late morning UK time, and then for oh my god, my brain's gone completely this last little bit. We are on Steam and on Epic slightly later on in the afternoon. Now, if you're based in the US, obviously you're going to be a little bit behind in terms of those times, so it'll be probably early morning for console for you, very early morning for some of you, and then sort of mid-morning to lunchtime for the Steam and Epic players. So we hope you've enjoyed that. We hope you've had a chance to kind of dissect everything that you wanted to see that's coming tomorrow. We've certainly felt like we've been able to go through quite a lot. How are you feeling, Matt, about tomorrow?
Very good, very good. It's like I said, as Brandon said, we've been having a ton of fun with all the variety and doing all sorts of different things. They're great, different trains to drive, and we will master the manually lapped brakes at some point.
And massive big thank you, Brandon, for jumping on the live stream. I don't know if you knew it was going to be 3 hours before you jumped in, but we knew. Well, yeah, we did kind of, but
we knew.
It's been a pleasure having you on here, and we really, really appreciate the time that you've spent to help build, particularly Boston, up to the with the new updates that have come today. But similarly as well with your help in gaining some of the audio and also supporting some of the signalling bits and pieces on Trenton too. So massive thank you, Brandon. Thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I'm really excited for this week.
And Brandon's going to be streaming the new content as well. He's already mentioned a couple of times, and he's got a brilliant signalling video out for Boston as well, which also is relevant for Trenton. So we'll share that with everybody tomorrow too. So he's got a couple of really good bits and pieces. If you are interested, you've enjoyed what Brandon's had to say tonight and the insight that he's been able to offer, you've got a lot more opportunities to see him over the course of this week. So, and big thank you to everybody else, all of the other beta community members and other community members that have helped us to be able to source different materials, and source different things that we've been able to utilize in the final pieces of content that you've seen tonight.
And I'm going to throw out a big thank you to the whole team who have been putting a lot of effort and energy into building the content. They've worked really hard. They've tried to go the extra mile in quite a few different places. I hope that you enjoy it as much as we have been play testing it. And I say play testing it. Play testing it, and as the team have had fun making it. So yeah, big thanks to everybody. Thank you all to you.
All that remains for me to say is we hope you enjoy it tomorrow. Please keep your feedback coming in over the course of the next few days. We really, really appreciate it, and we'd love to see your screenshots and your videos and all of that kind of stuff of you enjoying the new content as well. So please let us know if you're finding and enjoying all of the bits and pieces that you have to offer. So without further ado, we hope you have a lovely rest of your evenings, what's left of them, and we'll obviously see you a little bit later on. Have a good one.